Yep, I can hear you.
Perfect. All right, welcome everyone. I'm Sylvia Chiborowski here to help facilitate today's meeting. And we are at the final meeting of the Community Advisory Group for the Clark County Climate Change Planning effort. We've gone through quite a journey together through the past year and a half. And I know last week we were planning to meet, or week before, that got canceled due to weather. So appreciate everyone's flexibility in coming today. And I hope that nobody was severely impacted by that terrible storm.
Yeah.
You were here. Well, some of you were, I think Dawn might have been here too.
Yeah,
Tracy was here.
Yeah.
It was a very late notice, so. It wasn't, but.
Yeah, so I said it, I wish the sunrise with, what is it called? Political science. Yes, political science.
Oh.
They were creating, budget for us and. That's right.
All right, well, we're going to do a take two for our final meeting. So I'll just go over some of our housekeeping stuff and we can dive in. So let's move to the next slide. Thank you, Washington's Climate Commitment Act, for funding this project and this effort. We can go to the next slide. And next slide. All right, before we dive in, I'm going to hand it over to Jenna to let us know some important staff that we have with us today.
Right. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all again. This is Jenna, for those of you online, if you can't see me. Just wanted to mention a few other folks on the county side. Is that better? I know if I go too close, I get echoey. Let's try that. Okay. Okay.
So you're doing great.
It's been 18 months. This has been an ongoing issue of me talking too fast. I just want to introduce some other folks on the county side who are here today. So we have our county council liaison to the group, Councilor Michelle Belcott, who's joining us online. We also have County Council Chair Sue Marshall here in the room listening in for a bit of the meeting, as long as she is able. So thank you both for being here today. Also in the room here, we have Community Planning Director Oliver Orgiaco and Chief Civil Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Chris Cook. They are sitting in the audience and will chime in only if we desperately need them to do so, but are mostly here to listen. And then also online is my colleague Harrison Houston, who's a transportation planner, who's available if there's any transportation questions. So thank you to the extended county team for being here today.
All right, thank you. And let's go to the next slide. I'll go over just kind of our reminders about our vision statement first. So then this is kind of, we review the vision statement at each meeting, but just a reminder, this is kind of one of the first things that you all coalesced around at the very beginning of this process. And since then you've brainstormed many ideas to get to, making the incorporated Clark County more climate resilient and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So you've done all that brainstorming. Your ideas have been refined. There's been public process around your ideas. And then those ideas have been further kind of dialed in through conversation. And so we're hoping that today, as we get into our final set of goals and policies for voting, that they really do kind of match this vision statement that you all coalesced around at the beginning of the process. So just a reminder, you're all here and hoping that this climate element will implement House Bill 1181 and create a climate chapter to support meeting greenhouse gas emissions reduction, vehicle miles traveled reduction, resilience, and environmental justice goals, with a vision that in 2024, Clark County will have good stewardship, better health equity, green jobs, a transformed transportation, energy, and waste systems, and be prepared for uncertainty. That's kind of keeping that in mind as we go through the goals and policies today. All right, let's go to the next slide. So today, We have a key purpose around trying to seek consensus to finalize your recommendation for the climate element goals and policies. And I won't go into too much detail around how we're going to do that. I'll do that a little bit later today, but that's really the core purpose of today's meeting. We've got our list of 160 goals and policies. I think that's the number. Yes, close to that. So that's what we're focused on. And today really is about voting. It's about, can you support what's on the table? And then also today, we will also take a look at the letter that will be going to County Council from the Community Advisory Group. So seeing if that works for you all, and then reviewing next steps for the project. So we'll spend a little bit of time on those last two bullets. And in the spirit of consensus, there are some consensus cupcakes up on the counter here. No pressure, but they're there for you. They're celebratory cupcakes. No matter what we come to consensus or don't come to consensus on, they're there for you. You have all accomplished so much already. So really appreciate all the work. That missed the in-person. Yes, we can. Maybe we'll send them by mail. That's right. If you're not here, sorry, you don't get to appreciate, have some cupcakes. All right, let's keep going with the slides. So our agenda today, you'll see the bulk of today's meeting is getting those recommendations for the goals and policies. And then we'll spend just about 10 minutes on the CAG letter to County Council, and then about 10 minutes on just wrap up and your next steps. And then we'll have time for public comment at that time as well. So let's keep going. So webinar participation tips, again, if you're in the room, just go ahead and, use your tent card to raise your hand. And if you're online, just use the raise hand icon to get in the queue. If it doesn't work, just say out loud that you would like to speak. And also just a reminder that if you send a chat message, make sure you have it set up as chat to everyone, just for public records purposes. And today's meeting is being recorded. And if you have any tech issues, just email Maria at mverano@kernswest.com. All right, let's keep going. I think the next one is just a quick check on our discussion guidelines. So just a reminder, this is our final meeting, and you've all worked really well together. There have been some hiccups here and there. And sometimes when we get to the very end, that's where things can get really heated, right? You know that you're sort of up against the last bit of the process. So I'll just ask you all to do whatever it is you need to do for yourself to, stay calm, stay collected, be respectful to each other. Take a breath, leave the room if you need to, whatever it is, ask for a break, but just so that we can kind of maintain that air of respect as we have this conversation at our last meeting. And, we really are here for kind of our final conversation. We're not bringing new ideas to the table. We're saying, are the ideas here something that you can all live with? So keep that in mind too, as you kind of make your comments. And also, we have a lot to get through today, so try to stay concise in your comments as well. All right, next slide. Last piece of little business before we get into the next part of the agenda is approving the last meeting summary. Anyone see any issues with it? All right, let's keep moving then. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Jenna for some project updates before we get into our discussion on the goals and policies.
Okay, so I'm going to start with just reviewing materials in the meeting packet with you all. Standard before the meeting, you all got the email with materials that have, comments from other CAG members and the public and so forth. But I'm just going to highlight the items that I printed for those of you in the room, and for those of you online, these will also be key resources for you during the meeting. So behind the agenda in your meeting packet, we do have a copy of the slides if you want to follow along. We also have a copy of the meeting minutes you just approved. And then there's this document that has a lot of colors on the front. This is kind of the key major discussion item document for today. That's the current version of all the goals and policies. Behind that in your meeting packet is a copy of the draft letter to the County Council and Planning Commission from you all. So we'll discuss that later. And then at the end of your packet are all supporting materials. So we reprinted the summary of this chart that has all the colors on it, the summary of everyone's responses to the 2 surveys that you filled out. Behind that, we have a sort of thick document that has also the feedback, besides those ratings from the survey. And then behind that, we have just a comment tracker with how staff categorized your comments as we reviewed them. And then the final item in your meeting packet is an updated version of the glossary that we've been updating over the several months. We added a couple new items to it in this last round of revisions. So that's what's in your meeting materials. A few other updates. For those of you who are following the broader comprehensive planning process, the County Council is considering a revised resolution on the land use alternatives to be studied in the draft environmental impact statement. That meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, April 8th. It starts at 10 a.m. in this room, here in the hearing room. And if you are interested in attending that meeting, details are on the County Council's webpage. You can either join remotely or in person. So that's just an FYI for anyone who's interested in that. I am going to wait to talk about the project schedule until the end of the meeting when we talk about what comes after today. So I'll do more on that later. The other update I wanted to give relates to Initiative 2066. So if we could go to the next slide, please. I just want to give a few updates related to this matter. So as you may recall, Initiative 2066 or I-2066 is, this is an initiative that was approved by voters last fall to protect access to natural gas. And one aspect in that initiative is that counties can't prohibit, penalize, or discourage use of natural gas. And in late March, the first legal ruling related to this initiative came through. So on March 21st, King County Superior Court, a judge ruled that I-2066 is unconstitutional. So that's the first step in the legal process challenging this initiative. So wanted to give that update, but then also wanted to explain, well, what does that mean, given this project and where we are? So we are anticipating that that ruling is going to be appealed and it's going to make its way to the Washington State Supreme Court. And the timing of when this matter will get to the Supreme Court is still, it's very much unknown. We don't know the timeline yet. So anyway, so that's unknown. And so what does that mean for the county? So we are continuing to monitor the legal proceedings related to I-2066 as it relates to this project. And we also are continuing to follow the Department of Commerce's guidance to local jurisdictions on what to do, depending on what is decided with this matter. And so, we're basically in a similar position we've been in for the past few months, where kind of depending on what is ultimately decided related to this initiative and what Department of Commerce tells us we need to do, it's possible the county may need to take some extra steps with its building and energy policies, but we are not ready to do that quite yet because things are still in flux. So if we can go to the next slide. We just wanted to clarify that going into today's discussion, we are asking you all to vote on draft climate element policies that we worked on. These are the same ones you saw last month. And these policies are consistent with both House Bill 1181 and I-2066. So that is what we are asking you all to vote on today. We haven't done any additional revisions. So we just wanted to be really clear about that. And then the one other thing I wanted to mention related to this came up at our last meeting, was there were some questions around actually the first goal on the policy list and, whether or not it was consistent with Initiative 2066 or not. And so we did talk to our legal team about it, and we have added a phrase to that goal that says in accordance with all applicable laws. So you'll see that as an edit in there. And so just wanted to note that that edit was made in response to that feedback. We feel like that whether Initiative 2066 stands or not, that legal language is clear that we need to be following whatever laws are in place to implement our goals and policies. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop there, but I'm glad to take questions on anything I've shared so far.
Yeah, thanks. And so any questions on that, in particular, the I-2066 ruling? Okay. All right, then let's keep rolling. Okay, so we'll move into our big topic for today. Let's go to the next slide. I'll go over a little bit how we're going to do this and kind of a little bit of background of how we got from the last CAG meeting to today's meeting, because actually a lot of work has happened with a lot of you outside of the meeting. So today we're asking you to look at the list of items that are left. So there are 160 goals and policies total. Believe it or not, at the last meeting, you came to consensus on 51 of them, which was big progress. But that leaves 106. It's still a lot. But still, let's celebrate the success we have so far. Yeah, air high five to everyone. So today we're going to see, which of the 106 can you support as is, as a recommendation to county council, and which ones can you not? And if you cannot support them, that's okay. That's not a failure of the group. You all have done so much together already. We want you to vote with what's right to you based on your values, your ideas. But we're also going to ask you to dig deep. And if it's something that does seem like you can support it, that it meets the values of the group in general, and you could live with it, that you see it's good for the county, then we'd encourage you to support it. And after today's meeting, your recommendations will be sent to the Planning Commission and ultimately council for their use. All right, let's go to the next slide. I'll talk a little bit more about this, and then I'll take any questions about how we're doing this today. So this is just kind of a snapshot of the survey as a reminder. You're not meant to be able to read everything on the screen here, but you can look at it in your packet if you want. Just a reminder, we had sent out the survey to see where you all were in general on the goals and policies. And since the last meeting, so there were some places where you gave some 3s or 4s, which meant that you wanted to see some changes to those goals and policies. Since the last meeting, there have been some subcommittee work, and I have personally checked in with most everyone who gave a 3 or a 4 on any goal and policy, along with Jenna in many of the meetings, to ask you, what could we change to make this be something that you could support? And so some tweaks have been made to the goals and policies that are reflective of your concerns in those conversations. They might not fully address your concerns, but kind of to the best that was possible for staff, they tried to update the goals and policies. So it's been a really big lift to, shape those into what you see today. And we also learned through those conversations that a lot of you are in different places. Some of you are wholesale ready to say, these are all good, move forward. And some of you still have some real concerns with a few of them. So you're all here at different places. And that can sometimes be frustrating for folks too. If you're just ready to say yes and move on and have the meeting be over, it can be frustrating if someone else is talking through something for a long time. So just kind of keep that in check too, that we're all in different places as we get into the meeting today. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I think that one's just kind of the process for what our conversation is going to look like. So we're going to spend the first chunk of our conversation on 6 goals and policy items. So 6 specific items that just had a lot of different suggestions or concerns from many of you. So they're kind of the 6 ones that we think you really need to talk about. So we want to hear your ideas or suggestions for improvement. The staff has made changes to many of these, but we want to see if they work for you. We'll probably spend about 10 minutes on each one for discussion and then ask you to vote. Can you live with it? with the suggested changes that we come up with during that 10-minute discussion. And we'll just kind of go around the room and ask each person individually, can you live with this one? After we're done with that discussion, which will probably take about an hour, then we're going to go into the quick check goals and policies. So this is 100 items, which sounds like a huge number, but many of these got only 1s and 2s in the survey, or they had very minor edits that we checked with folks that had 3s or 4s outside of the meeting. And so we think they're really close, but some of them might not be all the way there. I'm not going to pretend like they're all that they might have addressed every single concern. But that's why they're in quick check, because they seemed like they were of lower concern to most of you. So for those 100 items, we're going to go around the room all at once and say, Nick, these 100 items, can you live with them? And Nick's going to say, yes, except for goal 36, policy 29. That one doesn't exist. That's why I picked it. Anyway, you would list like the ones that you can't support. So we'll just go around. But for those, we're really not going to have discussion. We're just going to ask you which ones do you not support, and we'll note that down and provide that information to County Council and Planning Commission. And I think I'm basically done with the explanation. So Nick, go ahead.
Just a point of order. You did not ask for the approval of minutes from the last meeting.
I did, but yes. Did you have a concern, or were you just asking? Okay. Okay, great. Okay, keeping me in check. Thank you, Nick. Is there another slide after this one? I just want to make sure I kind of go over everything before I see if there's any questions. So this is just a reminder of how the outcomes will be reported. So again, items with full consensus, that's going to be your recommendation to the Planning Commission. Items without full consensus, maybe there's a list of a dozen, however many, your votes will get recorded and your concerns will be shared with commission for decision making. And staff is going to pull from what you have already said in the past about those, like through the survey or through the last CAG meeting, to note what your concern was. If you want to provide additional reasoning for why you do not support that specific goal or policy, you are welcome to send an email to Jenna to say that. And it'd be nice if it was just a few sentences or a paragraph, not, because it's going to be a very long report. I'm sure council would appreciate that as well. Just say it. Yes, Anne.
Sorry, so, this is Ann Foster. So I'm understanding then that the Planning Commission they have the role of not just advising the council as to their agreement with the goals and policies, but they are making decisions on those. Am I understanding that correctly, Jenna?
This is Jenna. So the Planning Commission makes a recommendation to the County Council. So decision-making on the slide is a little bit confusing, so apologies for not catching that. So the Planning Commission they make a recommendation to County Council, but County Council is who is making the decision on what is actually getting approved. And we'll talk more about that at the end also.
All right. And maybe let's go to the next slide just so folks can see what the discuss bucket includes. So this is what we're going to go into next, is getting into these 6 goals and policies. But before we do, any questions about kind of the process today? So we're doing, a good chunk of time individually on each of these this discussion goals and policies. And then after, probably taking a break at some point in there, and then voting one block on the remaining 100. All right. Okay. Then let's get into it. So for each of these, I'm going to ask Jenna to just explain a little bit about the revised language before we jump into conversation, just as a little bit of background. And then we'll open it up to the group to hear, what are your thoughts? What are your suggested solutions to change this for something that works for you if it does not work for you? So we're going to start with goal 5, policy 2. And I think at this point, we'll probably move to the document that has the list of goals and policies. And again, for the group, that's this one. This is the main one we'll be looking at today. Okay, so over to Jenna.
Okay, so this is Jenna again. So goal 5, policy 2, which is on page 7 of the document. So while you are looking for it, the reason we put this policy on the discuss list is that this policy got some revisions from the Health and Wellbeing Subcommittee. And we put it up for discussion because I don't know if you all remember this, but this policy got a lot of discussion last summer. It was the policy that Noel, Ann, and Sunrise actually met about offline. Again, so that was like 6-9 months, however long ago that was. So because the subcommittee did do a little bit of editing, we wanted to bring it back and make sure everyone was okay with it before voting on it. So that is why this is in the discuss bucket. So that's all I have.
All right, great. All right, so we have that up on the screen, goal 5, policy 2, the one that starts with take steps to preserve existing agriculture by prioritizing the infrastructure that keeps existing agriculture, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll just open it up to folks. If the language that you're seeing here is something that you can't live with, maybe just let us know what the concern is and what you would propose. And if it's, maybe this revision is, hitting the mark and is spot on, and that would be okay too, but I want to open it up. Actually, before I go to you, Sunrise, I do just want to do a quick check to see who is online from the community advisory group. Can I just check, Andrea, are you here?
I am.
Great, thank you. And Janet, are you here?
I'm here.
Perfect. And Nelson, are you here?
I am.
Great. And is there anyone else on the CAG that's online that I didn't call?
My name was already called, but Counselor Michelle Belcott.
Counselor Belcott, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Sylvia, we do have a member of the CAG in the waiting room area. Jude's there. Should I promote Jude?
Oh, that's from the Environmental Justice Coalition. So Jude can
Gotcha.
stay in listening mode. Thank you. All right, let's go to Sunrise.
So thank you. I'm Sunrise O'Mahony. And I just have just 2 simple questions because I don't see it on one of the others, but maybe it's here and I'm just not seeing it. The Ag Commission conversation that we had, is that no longer on there because they're forming an Ag Commission? So now it's not relevant, or am I missing it on here and it's here and I'm just not seeing it?
Ag Commission is mentioned in one of the policies. I am skimming to see if I can find it.
It's probably right in there and I
It's
just couldn't.
G6P4. So goal 6, policy 4 is where the Ag Commission is mentioned,
Oh,
which
okay.
is
I
on
was looking in.
page 9.
Okay. And then my other question is, so I'm good with that one. I'm not seeing anything around here for assisting new farmers. It keeps just talking about preserving existing agriculture. And so is there something again that I'm missing in there? I know we had talked about that a long time ago, but I apologize if I'm just not seeing it. Because where I would have put it was in G5P2, which is what we're talking about now, where it's talking about take steps to preserve existing agriculture by prioritizing blah, 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 blah. It seems like it also should be looking at new, it's one of our big issues is that we do also have a shortage of new farmers and what can we do to help them? And I know that was a big point of what Noel and some of us talked about before, but
Yeah, so this is Jenna again. So it comes up, so goal 6, policy 4 speaks about, does mention new farmers, particularly around land purchases for new farmers. So that is mentioned there. I am not sure new farmers are called out elsewhere, but would be included in things like goal 6, policy 5 around, which is around programs and research and technical assistance and things like that. So,
Okay.
so if you feel like they need to be mentioned more, I think that's
No,
fine,
it's-
but I think they're included in some of the broader.
Yeah, I just didn't
Policies.
look, I was thinking it was more, anyways, no, I got it. I'm good.
All right, thanks, Sunrise. Anyone else on this one? Okay. Oh, Monica, thank you.
Thank you, Monica, Tabor. So I just wanted to, say that I like the way that it is written. There's a broader focus, so it emphasizes environmental and social factors, not just economic ones. 2, long-term resilience encourages practices that protect resources for future agricultural viability. 3, resource prevention highlights the importance of conserving natural resources and soils. 4, adaptability allows flexibility to address climate challenges and market changes. 5, innovation incentive drives advancements in farming practices and technologies. 6, community well-being fosters inclusivity and benefits local communities in agriculture. 7, climate resilience promotes practices that reduce emissions and enhance carbon capture. 8, comprehensive support systems encourages infrastructure that supports all agricultural aspects. 2 more. 9, future-proofing prepares agriculture for future environmental and economic challenges. And 10, alignment with global goals supports international sustainability initiatives and ethical food production. So I just really liked how it was worded, so thank you.
All right, thanks for the support. All right, anyone else? Great, well, I think for this one, if there's no other discussion, we can just go around the room and see if folks are good with this, and I'll just do a check. Nick's okay?
Yes.
Nick's good, Monica, Noelle's good, Gabriella, Dave, Sunrise, Justin, Anne,
Yes.
Don. Okay, great. And then online, Andrea, are you good with this one?
Yep.
Thank you. And Janet
Yes.
and Nelson?
Yes.
Okay, great. Then goal 5 P2 will move forward as having consensus support. That one was quick and easy. Let's go to the next one. Next, we're going to goal 11 P1. We'll find the page number, page 12.
Okay, so while you are looking for this one, the reason we put goal 11, policy 1 on the list was we got some feedback from a few different people on this policy about sort of different things. And so while the edits are mostly wordsmithing, we just wanted to make sure everyone was okay as we were trying to sort of wordsmith a few different things with this one. So wanted to, again, just have an opportunity for people to look at that one again.
All right, so I'll open it up again. If anyone has any concerns with this one, let us know. Anything that would keep you from supporting it, giving it a yes vote. What's the concern and what would you propose instead? And I see people still reading, so I don't want to rush things, but if there are no comments, that's okay too. Again, staff did a lot of work to try to revise these to meet the interest from the survey, and if it works, it works. Okay. Yeah, Gabriella.
Yes, this is Gabriela. Sorry. I always get tucked to these things. I just want to say thank you for making those changes.
Thank you. Okay, well, if there aren't comments on this one, then I'll, or, concern comments, I'll go around and see Nick.
Yes.
Brent,
Yes.
Monica, Noel, Gabriella, Dave, Sunrise, Justin, and Don. Okay, great. And then online, Andrea,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
and Nelson.
Yes.
All right. 2 for 2. That's right. Okay. Then we'll move to the next one, which is goal 11, policy 2. So just one down. Jenna, give some context for this one.
Sure. So this one has some more extensive editing. This policy received quite a lot of feedback in the pre-meeting survey. And so just want to explain a bit about what we did. So we did some wordsmithing to the original policy language, which is the first sentence of the policy. And then we ended up adding some details underneath that more general policy. And basically that sort of additional block of text that's a bulleted list. We were trying to include some key county commitments in this new section on what this is about, a tree plan. So some things that must be addressed in this tree plan. But we also were trying not to get too far into the weeds on the specifics about this because tree stuff is really complicated. There's a lot of different laws that affect it. And there's a lot of work, that the county would need to do if this is approved in the future. So that's a bit behind the what we were trying to do with these edits while also addressing the feedback that we heard from many of you, which were sort of naming some more specific things that you wanted to see in this policy. So I think maybe I'll stop there, but can answer questions if helpful. Oh, actually, sorry, one other note. I did want to mention that a policy a little bit further down, goal 11, policy 4, previously had a statement about setting tree targets and equity goals. And we moved that up into this policy and crossed it off that policy down below because we thought it fit here better. So I just wanted to note that edit happened as well. Okay, now I'm done.
All right, thank you, Jenna. Yeah, so some of the language here is taken from the policy below. So it looks like a lot of added language, but some of it's from the other policy.
Yeah, just a little.
A little bit of it, okay. All right, well, I'll look to the group. Anything that you have concerns about that would keep you from supporting this one? All right, I'll go to Noel first and then Sunrise. Go ahead.
Noelle Lovern, little concerned that this got a little too detailed. And the fact that we have a tree plan must instead of a tree plan should. I'm a little concerned that we're kind of tightening too much around that one. I'm curious whether, yeah, it just seems like we're breaking it down into so many parts here. I worry about that a little bit. Yeah. I can support prioritize benefits to overburdened communities and align tree requirements with the county's phase 1 municipal stormwater permit and all applicable laws and regulations. That seems to me like it would cover so many of these other bullet points. So that's my concern.
Okay, so it feels like too many
Yes.
bullets. And can you say more about the concern on the must part of it?
I think we've been careful to provide some flexibility, and must is not flexible at all.
Mhm,
And so I worry about that.
okay. Okay, I'll go to Sunrise next and then I'll go around here.
Well, this is Sunrise. quick, really, really simple one is in the beginning, it says a tree plan and implementing ordinance. It should be implementing an ordinance, or is it supposed to be, anyways, that's just like a grammar question. However, now in response to Noel's, I didn't have this comment, but I am one who does support the must. And I do support having it broken down the way that it is. I look at this differently in that I really feel like it is a must because trees are so critical when we're looking at climate change, and we need to have a more a stronger statement on here with what we're doing. And that if we just say shall, then it really, or prioritize, I can't remember, sorry, Noel, what word you said? Was it prioritize?
I just said should.
Should. So whether having should, to me, that leaves it too open, and we really need to take this critically.
Okay, that's helpful. And maybe I'll get to the other cards too, but Jenna, could you say a little bit about what the impacts of the must would be from your perspective, just because it's this on county staff to do this, right? Or maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Yeah, I mean, I think county staff, if this policy were to get approved, right, county staff would then be the ones who would work on developing a plan in collaboration with the community. So I think in terms of the must list, it's naming some things that need to be included in the plan, but I don't think it says anything about, how those need to be addressed or anything like that, right? So I think that was our goal, was to name some topical areas to address, but without saying anything about how and leaving that to the future work. So that's what we were trying to do with the wording. So, yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. I'm going to go to Monica, and then some people's tent cards went down, but go to Monica and then I'll see.
Thank you, Monica. So, one, it's a focus on planting and protection. So the revised policy emphasizes both planting and protecting trees, promoting proactive measures rather than solely preservation. 2, community targets, establishing canopy cover and equity goals, fostering community engagement and accountability, ensuring a more inclusive approach. 3, comprehensive strategies. It addresses a broader range of threats to trees, including climate change impacts, enhancing resilience against various environmental stressors. 4, sustainability emphasis, incorporating sustainable strategies promotes long-term ecological health, aligning with contemporary environmental goals. 5, equity prioritization, prioritizing benefits to overburdened communities, ensures that vulnerable populations receive support and resources, promoting social equity. 6, regulatory alignment, aligning with existing laws and permits, enhances legal compliance and integrates tree management into broader environmental frameworks. And 2 more, 7, adaptability, the focus on strategies for various stressors allows for adaptive management, ensuring the plan remains relevant in the face of changing environmental conditions. And 8, a holistic approach. The revised policy takes a comprehensive view of tree management, considering ecosystem health, carbon sequestration, and watershed health, which fosters a multi-dimensional approach to urban and rural planning. So I do agree with keeping the word must in there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Brent, did you have something else? You're good. Okay. And Gabriella? Same opinion. Okay. Anne? I don't know. I have Anne, then Nick. No, sorry. Anne, Justin, Nick, Andrea. Okay.
No, I just put away on the tree plan must versus another way of saying that. I support all the elements of a tree plan must that are bulleted here, but I agree that the word must is going to get negative press unnecessarily, and there's got to be a better way of saying it. Somehow to encourage these guidelines or develop a plan that, or something that says the same thing. In other words, puts the strength behind it and the ability to hold these folks accountable but at the same time doesn't send the negative, you must. Your grandmother is talking, you know, that kind of thing. So do you sort of agree? Noelle, am I seeing you?
Yeah, I appreciate that, and certainly do think that we could choose a different word that didn't quite feel quite as authoritarian.
Yeah. Can we say something, the tree plan? I don't know, Brent, you're the tree guy. Yeah.
Online they can.
Okay.
All right, well, I'll keep taking the comments and if somebody can think of a different word that might be more
Come up with an
appropriate,
idea
please
for
let
what
us
we could
know.
say instead of must, but yet provides the strength.
Mhm. Let's go to Justin and then Nick, and then I'll go to Andrea.
Oh, you didn't, Ann. Justin Wood. Just wanted to make some comments here. I think when we're talking about the word must, that's made pretty clear in implementing ordinance. So that would be a requirement. That would be a must. So just kind of providing some clarity here. I'm pretty okay with how it's written. I know the ordinance will be something, further on in the process here. Something we could add to the tree plan, balancing housing production with tree preservation. The last thing we want to do is prevent middle housing options within urban growth areas, ADUs, triplexes, because there's a 30, 40-year-old tree in the backyard. And then that housing doesn't get produced and we're further in a compounding housing underproduction. So just wanted to kind of make that point there that you could kind of balance those out. Thank you.
All right, I'll go back to that housing production suggestion in just a second, because that's a new one here. Nick?
Nick Massey, when I first originally read this, I thought this was going to be a plan that the developers had to provide every time we went to do a development. And so thank you, Jenna, for clarifying that. So I'm going to send it over to Noelle and Andrea to see what they think.
Thanks, Nick. Andrea and then Noelle. Go ahead, Andrea.
Yeah, I think my heartburn on this one stems primarily from the usage of the word rural in the policy statement, primarily because of the wildland urban interface issues that our state experiences. The last thing I'd want to do is ensure that a bunch of trees are planted or preserved in one of those areas and it actually compounds wildfire issues. And then the other thing too that I would like to point out is the insurance issues that go along with some of these tree ordinances. For example, my house in Clark County limits unincorporated. I was told by my insurance agent that my insurance would go up if I did not remove the tree that was touching my house. So I did that, and absent, or I guess with a tree policy in effect countywide, I would then have to ask the county for a permit potentially. So, that just creates more road blocks and hassles and potentially could make housing more expensive. So just wanted to bring that up as a concern to think about. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Andrea. And do you have any suggestions to changes here that might alleviate some of those concerns?
Yeah, I think if we didn't parcel out like the rural and urban areas and just said something along the lines of like a county-wide plan to where some of those, the WUI areas can be taken in consideration based on, risk of wildfire, et cetera. And the maps that DNR is supposed to be basically redoing and should have ready in the next 2 or 3 years. So yeah, I think there's more coming on this issue just broadly. And so if we could take out maybe the urban and rural, I think that would make me much more comfortable.
Okay. Okay, we'll note that as a suggested edit. And Noelle.
Noelle Lovern, what if we change the language to, in that bulleted section, a tree plan that addresses community-wide, and you could probably take off the establish. So that would be the lead in. A tree plan that addresses.
Okay, so something like a tree plan that addresses. I'll check in with others, maybe especially Sunrise on this one.
I actually wanted to clarify, or what did either Andrea or one of you that took the notes? So was the suggestion was getting rid of the trees in urban and rural areas? What was the suggestion to replace that again?
I think just to remove it. So.
And
it
so
was-
just say protection of trees in alignment with best practices?
mhm.
Okay. Have to think about that a second, but on the other piece on the tree plan must, I mean, I'm still standing with the must on my end of things.
Anything else from you, Sunrise, on other words that would work there to meet the interests of the group? If not, that's fine. Just want to put the offer out.
Yeah, I was trying to be brief. I mean, I know it's not a level of consensus. I guess I'm a little bit unclear why, if you say the other words, why so opposed to the word must makes it seem like people that oppose to that want to be able to not have to do that. That's where my brain goes. Because if you were okay doing it, whoever, not, but whoever was okay with doing it, I feel like they wouldn't have an issue with the word must. And I think all of these are critical. I don't want to leave that open to potential, sorry, it's echoing in here, but potential changes on it, I guess.
Okay. And Gabriella?
Thank you. I agree. It should be must because we need to keep in mind that we are talking about the weather that we are starting to get and will get worse for tree canopy and cooling down community. So I think it should be must. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm hearing some support for the must and some concerns with it. I also want to just quick check, like head nods on how people would feel about removing in urban and rural areas. Does that generally seem okay for folks? Okay. In the room, it's for folks, it seems like it's not making a big difference. So maybe for the vote, we would remove that phrase in urban and rural areas. And then Justin, I want to go back to your suggestion on adding that something like the tree plan must balance housing production, something like that. Maybe, can you say more on that piece?
Yeah, I think that would, balancing tree preservation with housing production in the you could even say the context of middle housing or not. That would be my comment.
Okay. Maybe I'll check with, this is a pretty, well, I don't know if it's a big addition. It is an addition for the county. What implementation concerns, anything there?
Yeah, I mean, the county, so if I take a step back and think about the comprehensive plan as a whole, right, we have to plan for enough housing, right? Like that's another goal of the Growth Management Act and comprehensive plan. So, I guess I will say sort of broadly, we already have that mandate to do that. So I think that is starting to get into the how, right? Because I think that's sort of part of it. Like, right, what is it? When is it appropriate to cut down trees and when is it not, right? And I think part of that is you have to weigh what it's being cut for or so forth. So my inclination is to leave that to the next steps, but don't have anyway, but can let the group sort of guide on that.
Sure. Yeah. Justin, thoughts?
I would agree with that. That conversation can be had when the ordinance is developed. And quite frankly, for the group, the must versus addresses seems like a moot point to me because the language ordinance is already in there. So kind of don't know why we're having that discussion.
That's fair. Okay. Well, at this point, I think we've spent a good chunk of time talking about this one. So I'll ask that we go to a vote. And can you zoom in on the language above the actual policy language without the notes? I think what we'd be voting is on the language that you see here, but with the removal of in urban and rural areas. Yeah, I'll go around to each person for this one. And I'm going to start on the other side of the room this time, just, to mix things up.
Yes.
So Dawn's a yes, Anne, yes, Justin, yes, Dave, Gabriella, yes, yes, yes. Nick's a yes, thank you. And online, Andrea
Yep.
and Janet
Yes.
and Nelson.
Yes.
All right, thank you, everyone.
I want to thank Justin for that one. Thank you, Justin. You made it clear.
Thank you. All right, we're moving into goal 16, policy 3. Page 17. Yeah, Jenna with a little bit of background.
Okay, so goal 16, policy 3. This policy is also one that received quite a number of pieces of feedback on it in the pre-meeting survey. And we ended up basically doing a rewrite of this one, which is why we wanted to bring it back to the group for you all to have a chance to look at it and discuss it. The previous version, we were cross-referencing an existing policy that was already in the county's environmental chapter. But as we were looking at people's feedback and then met with people who had feedback, the more we looked at the existing policy, we were realizing it's a bit outdated in a few different ways. And so thought we would just try writing the policy we were, the main things we were trying to say. So we just did a rewrite instead of trying to edit the existing policy. So anyway, so that's why you see a lot of strikeout and the new text below is that we just tried rewriting it. So anyway, I think we want to, make sure people have a chance to look at it and share any concerns.
All right, thank you. So I'll open it up for any concerns that would keep you from supporting this one. I'll go to Nick first.
Nick Massey, I didn't have a chance to read the stormwater policies in the comprehensive plan, chapter 3 and 6. How does this go with the NPDES permit, construction stormwater permit in Washington State?
Yeah, that's a good question. So this is Jenna. So the county stormwater permit is one of our main tools for implementing stormwater stuff here in the county, right? And there's also county code that goes with it, but our county code mostly says, look at our stormwater manual, which gets updated to align with the permit. So any language in here that's saying, look at our other stormwater policies or things like that, they're all pointing towards, it all aligns with that stormwater permit that the county has to get approved by Department of Ecology every so often.
I just don't want to have, it's already hard enough to keep track of rules. And if we have one rule for the state of Washington, one for Clark County, one for Cowlitz County, one for over there, it just gets real confusing. So as long as they're aligned with that, I can support this.
Yeah, and I would add anything like around stormwater, if this were to get approved, I mean, it would be implemented through our stormwater team, through their stormwater permit, work.
All right, thank you. And Monica?
Thank you, Monica Zeswet at Tabor. So I just wanted to highlight why this revised policy is stronger than the original and then add something that I saw missing. So one, comprehensive approach. The revised policy addresses multiple aspects of stormwater management, including runoff, reduction, pollution, resources, and erosion, making it more holistic. Two, climate resilience. It emphasizes climate resilience strategies, preparing the community for various climate scenarios, which is crucial for long-term sustainability. Three, regulatory framework. The inclusion of critical areas, regulations, and the Shoreline Master Program ensures compliance with the state laws, providing a stronger legal foundation. For education and incentives. Education by fostering on education for naturescaping and water conservation. The revised policies fosters community involvement. and productive behavior. And then 5, nature-based solutions. The emphasis on nature-based techniques for restoration highlights the importance of ecological methods, which can be more effective and sustainable. 6, land acquisition for conservation. Strategic land acquisition for conservation and restoration adds a proactive measure for long-term protection of water resources. And I saw that the promotion of non-toxic pesticides is not clearly mentioned in the revised policy. And so to strengthen the policy, I would like to see that added. But I also want to shift the framing away from a purely transactional or profit-driven mindset to create conditions for positive collaborative outcomes rather than just incentivizing certain behaviors. And so some words that I came up with was facilitate, enable, support, empower, cultivate, encourage, nurture, promote, and catalyze, so that, it's not all about the money. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Monica. So just to recap on so it sounds like you're mostly supportive with a couple of
Yes.
additions. So you want to see the promotion of non-toxic pesticides?
Yes.
Somewhere in here?
Yeah, because I
Maybe I'll
didn't see it
just-
clearly stated.
Jenna on that one?
Yeah, I will just note and I apologize if this is like a jargon term, but the term non-point pollution, which is like non-point source pollution, would include pesticides. So that's, any pollution source that when it rained, would get washed and cause pollution. So I just want to note that I think this is inclusive of pesticides. But anyway, so for your consideration.
Usually when me and you have a conversation, then I'm like, oh yeah. So thank you for saying that, Jenna. So then I'm good with the policy as is. Thank you.
So with that, it's good. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you, Monica. Sunrise?
Okay. I would disagree on the non-point. So working in this field, I can tell you right now that non-point is still allowed to use pesticides and fertilizer as long as they're what they consider water safe. And so you are still allowed to do that currently. And I believe that Monica would agree on this, that this is by putting this under just non-point, you're actually not specifying that. And so unless you can show me otherwise, then I'll tell you who's doing it within because it is totally allowed to use chemicals and pesticides on that. Like I said, they have to be water safe. So I was going to add that to that. And then also, minimizing the amount of impervious areas created by development, was that taken out and or was that another one that's kind of worded differently in here?
Let me look. Let me double check because I feel like that might exist somewhere else, but let me look for it.
Okay. And then my last question is, I guess, a little bit of clarification on, in a lot of these, I'm all for adding pieces to it, but with the comp plan, for example, a lot of these are just referring kind of what Nick was saying in a way, but, for example, implementing, educating and incentivizing climate resilient naturescape and blah, blah, blah. That's also, part of that is in the NPDES requirements. It's not specified that it's connected to that, but outreach and education is part of that. Some of this isn't though, like incentivizing isn't. So did you not connect it to the permit requirements because of some reason?
Well, I guess we were generally wanting to name key ideas. Where again, though, I think in most cases, right, the education, the naturescaping type programs, things like that, right, they are going to be run through the stormwater program, in terms of how they would get implemented. So we could definitely look more closely if it would be helpful for us to make those linkages more.
I guess I was
just language.
Yeah, I guess I was just curious because it almost seems like some of these are so from the plan and then it says the details, like in the past one that you guys had, it was the ordinance, but then it added something to it. So it was like, here's the ordinance, but we want to make it a little bit more. So I guess, the first one, implementing a comprehensive forward-looking stormwater management, see additional stormwater policies. Are none of these, I would argue that some of these are in that. So why, I guess I'm not understanding why you refer to that, but then add pieces of it. Is it just to highlight that?
Yeah,
On-point source pollution is under the permit, for example.
right. So I think the logic here, and totally welcome to revise, so not wed to this. I think that first bullet was intended to basically point to generally the stormwater
Okay,
management program and the stormwater permit.
okay,
We added in the critical areas and shoreline master program because those are other tools the county already has and has to have under state law that also have impacts on water quality.
Yep.
Right? So we wanted to name those. The naming of climate resilient naturescaping, water conservation, and rainwater capture were, we called them out because of their connection to climate in particular, which I don't believe the current, I'm not an expert on the county stormwater permit. I don't think it specifically addresses climate at this point in time. So I think we wanted to highlight things that are, anyway, so we wanted to make that climate connection. And then we also added in the strategic acquisition. Again, the county has programs where they do land acquisition, but wanted to sort of link it to, right, the land acquisition is another tool that the county has, right, that can help with this. So I guess we were trying to connect a few different dots, but open to suggestions.
no, that's fine. I just was kind of confused because it seemed a little bit like in some places it referred to it and some it didn't. So
Yeah.
trying to understand why, why it did in some. So I think my only thing that I would be strong on is the pesticide piece and then finding out if the impervious is anywhere else.
Okay.
Don, go ahead.
This is Don Steinke. I could not hear all the discussion, but when the word climate was mentioned regarding water, what I understand is the greatest threat to salmon is reduced stream flows in August and September and October. And so it's not just water quality, it's the fact that there's water there or not water there. And I was on the first Clark County Clean Water Commission, and temperature and erosion seemed to be the main two concerns, or temperature and sediment were the main concerns when I was participating there 25 years ago. Anyway, so stream flow, I don't know that I want to change anything, but I just call it to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Did you find it? Yeah.
Well, I wanted to respond to Don, but I also think I have an answer for Sunrise as well. So a few people gave feedback on the stream flow idea on the previous version of this. And I did talk to our clean water team to make sure I understood, how stream flow would be intersecting with this work. And just a few things that I'll mention. So one is the county has no authority on water rights issues, which is a part of the issue with stream flow, right? On how much water is getting used. So there's a piece that's not really in our authority to do anything about. However, where the county does have a role on things that affect stream flow is our stormwater permit, which is one of the big parts of that is to encourage as much infiltration as possible. How do you get as much water back into the ground as opposed to running off? And that's my understanding is where we can play the largest role in terms of affecting stream water levels as a county. So, so that was, and then, okay, sure, go ahead.
The other piece, and yes, Jenna, but also kind of what you were suggesting, Don, is that erosion does impact stream flow as well. So as things erode, that creek is getting wider, it's getting narrower, you're seeing less of a flow there. So you are seeing some some. And so the one where it's saying, the second to the last, where it's talking about, I've never used this word, but nature-based techniques for stream bank and watershed restoration on the county land, that can help some as well if we're looking at really shoring up those banks. So I agree with what you're saying, Don. There's more to it than just that, but I think this does, I hope that this does cover that some as well.
Yeah, so I did just double check our comprehensive plan in terms of the use of the term impervious surface, and it does look like it's only explicitly named in the policy that we're crossing out. So I do think if you'd like to name it, that's something we can, we can add it to
That's
this
what I
list.
thought. So I know there's going to be a lot of pushback on this, but I would like to have that added back.
Okay, can you say a little bit more specifically what you would want? Like a bullet point about impervious surfaces or, okay.
And I mean, I was fine with how it was worded before, but that's just my take on it.
Mhm. Okay, so kind of bringing back in the minimizing the amount of impervious area created by development. Okay. So I'm hearing kind of the two suggested edits on the table are adding something in about reducing pesticides or, making sure that there's promotion of non-toxic pesticides, and then also adding back in minimizing the amount of impervious area created by developments. We'll see any big concerns with those two additions. Yeah, Nick and then Monica.
Nick Massey, I believe the last time it was promoting the use of non-toxic pesticides and fertilizers. I will agree with that change.
You're good with the non-toxic pesticides? Okay.
Using, no, you're.
Oh, using the same words. Okay, thank you. I didn't even realize they were written there. Okay. So bringing back in promoting the use of non-toxic pesticides and fertilizers, and bringing back in minimizing the amount of impervious area. Okay. Monica?
Yes, I do agree with the, so I'm on the fence of like either saying incentivize or promoting. And so I guess I look to my other CAG members to see what they want to say about that. But I do want to bring it back into like incentivizing or promoting the use of non-toxic pesticides and fertilizers to enhance water quality, aligning with critical area regulations and the shoreline master program. And that addition could be placed after the second bullet point, maintaining the flow and enhancing the policy strength.
Okay. Sunrise?
I think this is a question for Jenna. On this whole policy, basically, but in particular, the ones we're talking about now, would this apply to the county as well? The actual county departments?
Yes, so the county, we have to follow the county has to follow the county's regulations, if that makes sense. So, so yes, it should.
Okay, so this would apply to them as well then?
Yeah.
So looking at what Monica was saying, if we were to incentivize, how would we incentivize the county to follow the plan? Like, I can see incentivize with the community outside of electeds, or not elected, sorry, the government of, how would that look? I guess I would be okay. I would love to see the more we can incentivize things. I mean, everyone says you give carrots instead of, if you do that, it does help encourage that. I'm just wondering how that works within the county. And then this is a more complex issue. As much as I am very much opposed to chemicals, it has a whole nother intricacy around this when it comes to funding sources. So, so I'm torn. I would love to just say, none, but there's a reality check of what can be done.
I think the how, again, still, if it's not something that already happens, right, would need to be figured out. So I think a word like promote, or substitute another word in there, right, is a bit more general, right? You could promote through some sort of incentive or some other way, right? So, again, look to you all on comfort level on wording, but I guess the short answer, Sunrise, is I don't know how exactly it would
Yeah.
play out.
Okay.
But we would figure that out if the policy got approved.
So could we say promoting and prioritizing the use of non-toxic pesticides, or even, I mean, something along those lines? So it's not saying you must or you have to, but it's saying that is the priority. I mean, it comes back to what I've had a lot of discussions with you guys about, and how Clark County prioritizes what they're spending on, but maybe prioritizing adds a little bit more to it, in particular, looking at the the county's role in using pesticides.
I'll check just general comfort level with that, head nods, like if we were to add in promoting and prioritizing the use of non-toxic pesticides and fertilizers. Okay, head nods are looking good on that. And I think I'm going to move us to a vote because we've talked about this one for a while. And on the screen, can we add back into the bullet points those two thoughts, the promoting and prioritizing the use of non-toxic pesticides and fertilizers? You can just copy and paste it from the strikeout language. And then the minimizing the amount of impervious area created by developments. So I'll
The
go.
notes, it says MPDD. We're saying NPDES. I don't know if that's the same thing or not, but it's on both sides of that. I don't know what an MPDD is. What's that?
Maybe I'm mishearing. I could.
Right. We will make sure that the acronym is correct.
All right. Can we zoom into the language that's for the vote a little bit? Okay, so we'll go ahead and go around the room. I'll start with Dawn again this time, just for fun. And so we're using the language as it is here and adding those two bullets that we just talked about on non-toxic pesticides and fertilizers and impervious services. Would you have another discussion point before we go? Oh, okay, then go ahead and maybe state them before we vote.
What does it mean to minimize, Nick Massey, what does it mean to minimize the amount of impervious area created by developments?
I don't know if I have a straightforward answer on that, right? I think that, yeah, I don't think we are saying what that means in this policy. Yeah.
Well, and remember, the most impervious things on a development are the roads, right? And the county sets the road widths and the shoulder widths and the sidewalks and all the stuff that makes the impervious area. The housing site is going to have some impervious area with the roofing, but that's very little compared to whatever else is there for what the regulations tell us to do. Now, if the county wants to reduce the sides of roads and sidewalks and stuff, I don't think I'd be for that either, because the safety of our traveling public is in there too. So it's kind of a two-edged sword there.
Okay, Sunrise?
I just can say what I thought of. I don't know what this was meant but my take on this is, one, it doesn't say just housing developments. There's a lot of other developments other than just houses. So if we're looking at putting in apartments or exactly, businesses, parking, parking lots without apartments, all of those, there are ways that, for example, you could have a big empty lot that fits, I'm not a numbers person, but 100 cars, and it can be all impermeable, my brain. But anyways, however, you could also put little micro park, they call these little like micro green areas where you could have, little spots of trees where you're minimizing the amount. You still have the parking because we know we need that to an extent, but you could try to reduce it to some extent. There are ways that could be subtle and small because it's not saying get rid of it. It's just saying to minimize. You can also look at, having permeable surfaces. So some of them aren't great, I know, but you could be looking at some of them, not you, but you could be looking at different ways to create pervious surfaces that aren't maybe used right now.
And so my point to that, this has already been in place. If you go through writing a SWIP, elements 12 and 13, 14 of that SWIP is to identify those areas, LID, low income areas. So we're already doing this as part of the design. Pervious asphalt, pervious concrete is already in place. If you look at the parking lot over that they built, that's all pervious. There's other maintenance issues that come with that too, because we do live in the evergreen state with lots of needles that come down. But I think we're already doing this as part of our duties there to put this in there. It might be just writing in there. So I'm against putting this line in there, as I guess is what I'm
That's
saying.
helpful. All right. So it sounds like it might be something that folks are already doing, but this would just be calling it out as important.
So quick question, if they're already doing it and from your perspective, because anyways, if they're already doing it, then why does it matter if we have it on here? Do you feel like it's repetitive or redundant? I guess not repetitive.
I'm all about choice. What makes more sense for that? If you're in clay soil, you can't put pervious stuff in there. It's not going to drain, right? But if you're in sandy soil, it will drain. So it's all about the design of the project when you're going in to do that, to say. And so, yeah, I mean.
Okay. We can just, I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
We don't, sometimes we don't always agree, but I just wanted to clarify so I understood it better. So thank you.
Okay, great. Well, so let's go back up to the language here. I think we're keeping it in the minimizing the amount of impervious area created by developments, but thank you for clarifying like some of the concerns around that. That's staying in for purposes of this vote. Yes.
I will not vote for impervious area staying in this code.
Is that right?
The minimizing the amount, I will not support that.
Oh, I thought you said that you were okay with it staying because it's something you're already doing. Thank you for clarifying then. Well, I think, I mean, we can either vote with it in there or not. I think we might just have some differences of opinion. Go ahead, Anne.
Oh, I was just going to comment back to Nick. It's not saying, that you're doing away with it entirely. You're just saying you're making every effort, continuing to make every effort to minimize the damage done by impervious pavements.
Yeah. I still don't agree with that. I think it's already in the language, so we're not adding it.
Where is it in the language?
In your stormwater, when you're developing stormwater for your development, you have to consider all of what you're talking about in there.
Can't we just say continue to, or like keep working at it? Don't do away. I mean, is there some kind of reinforcement that we could add to it?
I don't believe so. This has been in place since the 2006
Well, and
plan. I mean,
gotten us.
we've been doing this all over the county as part of the development community. So again, we're just putting words in there that might mean something later, and I don't agree with it.
And I think we do need to move to a vote. And what I'm hearing though, Nick, though, is just questions around if it's already or required somewhere else. It's just being stated again here. What's the concern? So maybe just consider that as we slowly move your way in the vote. But I'll start with Dawn. And so again, just we're voting on the language with the two additions here.
What are those two additions?
The additions are promoting and prioritizing the use of non-toxic pesticides and fertilizers and minimizing the amount of impervious area created by developments.
Yes, but I'd like to agree with Nick that we're already doing these things on the impervious surfaces, like in the Battleground Safeway store. They have perforated pipe underneath the parking lot, so all the storm drains go into that perforated pipe. course, it plugs up, but that's another problem. So I'm a yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anne, yes.
Yes.
Justin, yes. Sunrise, yes. Dave, right, yes. Gabriella, yes.
Yes.
Noel, yes.
Yes.
Monica, Brent. Yes. Brent, yes. Nick. Abstain. I don't know, are we doing abstain?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you, Nick. And I'll go online to Andrea
Yeah.
and Janet
I mean, yes.
and Nelson.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. All right. How are people doing? Do we want to, we have two more in the discuss bucket. Do you want to break or should we try to finish them? Okay, power through and then we'll do the quick check. Okay. All right, goal 19, policy 4, page 20. Strategy is to wear you down. Well, and this one did get a lot of discussion offline. So I'll hand it to Jenna to talk through it.
Okay, so goal 19, policy 4 on page 20. So this policy got a lot of discussion time at our last meeting, and we ended up forming a subcommittee to work on it offline. So the revised text you see here came out of that subcommittee work. However, I will say the subcommittee was still kind of debating on some final wording in a few places. So the subcommittee was Monica, Noel, Justin, and Don, who talked about this one. So anyway, wanted to bring it back to the group because it has gotten revised. And then also, I think even members of the subcommittee still were debating amongst themselves a bit on some of the exact wording to land on. So I think I'll stop there and pass it over to the group.
This is the 15 minutes community one. Yeah. Okay. A lot of 10 cards went up. I'll go to Noel first. You were on the subcommittee. Go ahead.
Noelle Lovern. I'm curious how the county is going to provide these communities. The word says provide. I feel like that is not something the county actually does. You don't provide communities. So where it said plan for, I think that should be changed back as part of the wording. Otherwise, I agree.
So the first word, okay, so it would be user suggesting change to plan for connected and accessible communities, et cetera. Okay. All right. Sunrise and then Monica.
First off, I agree with the plan for, even though you asked, but on that one, I'm still a very strong advocate of the 15-minute communities. I know I've heard why people are not, but and I thought a lot about what you said last time, Anne, around the difference of 15 minutes on a bike versus walking versus, e-scooter and all of that. So I did a little reading. Yeah, so I did do a little reading on that, and because in my mind, 15-minute was more not exact. And so, but you made me think. So I looked it up. And one of the ones that I found was, or what I found in general was that it's not literally 15 minutes, you would go further on a bike in 15 minutes than you would if you're walking, for example. So one thing I saw was they broke it down a little bit and they said like a 5-minute walk to a small store, like a grocery store, they broke it kind of down. And then they said a 10 minutes walk going to the school or park, 15-minute bike going to work or gym or the hospital, those type of things. So it kind of broke it apart a little bit. But again, I think it needs, to me, this is not as clear and it doesn't really spell out as well what we're talking when it's, to be blunt, it's a bit soft on it and it's just kind of I agree with the plan for connected and accessible communities where the majority of daily needs can be met with a convenient, safe, blah, 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 blah. That's just left for a lot of interpretation to me.
Okay, thank you, Sunrise. Let's go to Monica and then Nick and then Gabriella.
Thank you, Monica. So in the subcommittee, because last time we were here, it was, a lot got discussed and everything. And so in the subcommittees, Justin brought up that not everyone can be able to do that with working, like working could be farther away. And so I was like, okay, that does make sense. And to come to a consensus on this, I was like willing to, work with the wording on it. I am, like with Sunrise, I am a strong advocate for 15-minute cities. I really am. But to come to a consensus in this group, I really wanted to, hold out my hand and let them hold it too. And so but I did want to keep the wording significant majority in there. Justin said that he feels that it is redundant to do significant majority, but majority clearly states that we aim to meet over half, and that could mean 51% of the community's needs, which shows our commitment to accessibility. However, terms like significant majority or vast majority suggest we want to meet even more needs, around 80% or more. And so I would want to keep the significant majority in there. And I wrote a response to Justin. Thank you for your feedback, Justin. I understand your concerns about the word significant, but I believe it is not redundant. Rather, it is necessary for emphasizing our commitment to exceeding basic needs and striving for higher accessibility standards. The term majority by itself indicates that we aim to meet over half the county's needs, while significant majority signals our goal of addressing around 80% or more. This language reflects our desire for a vibrant, accessible community and reinforces our values, ultimately improving residents' quality of life. By keeping both terms, we strengthen our message about creating a connected neighborhood that is truly enjoyable for all. And so for not using the term 15-minute communities, I am strongly advocating for significant majority, and that's how I can live with it. So thank you.
Thank you, Monica. And Nick?
Nick Massey. Today, I attended a meeting with the city of Vancouver, and they're planning for their comprehensive plan. And they specifically talked about this, the refined overlay concept. And this is what they're doing within the city of Vancouver, is they're establishing these areas that you can do this. We're talking about a big area of Clark County where it's an urban area. So I don't have a problem with the way it's written, but I just want everybody to remember that we do have our partner with City of Vancouver that's going to be providing these types of things for people that want to live 15 minutes from where they want to have these things. It's not going to happen in Yale because you're going to be way out there. That's just not an issue. But for the urban area, if you define City of Vancouver, I am totally supportive of this, but I just don't see it countywide. So there's mine. Go ahead.
I just want to clarify. I'm not sure if I heard you right. Are you saying that in your meeting today that the city of Vancouver is not using the 15-minute or is using the 15-minute?
They're going to use this. They're refined concept overlay, locations that require some brain protection, enhanced pedestrian design, connectivity, anticipation for downtown and other regional
Yeah,
centers.
so the way that the correction is not in alignment with what the city of Vancouver is talking about. Sorry, I'm not following, I'm just trying
Justin
to,
Wood.
What I'm saying is,
they're not.
yeah, should we just delete this thing? Because again, it's in my view, these 15 community need to be close to an urban area. City of Vancouver, Battleground, Ridgefield, that you can get to that stuff. If you're out in Shalachi Prairie, for instance, you're not going to be 15. Well, you might be if you
Well,
want to go
this
up to the
is
store.
unincorporated Vancouver urban growth.
What's
area.
that?
This is unincorporated Vancouver urban growth area.
Well, but again, that's
So that's
not
not
part of their
Shalachi.
planning because they're not having, they're just planning for their urban growth area right now.
So
Seeing the whole dang area.
Yeah.
So just,
I'm
I
just
think,
trying to
I
clarify.
think Nick was just saying that the city of Vancouver is doing this kind of work already.
Yes.
And that you'd be supportive of it in unincorporated Clark County, but it's a very large area. So
Absolutely.
like, keep it in mind that it's a bigger area.
See, that's what my point is. You can't make this community up in somewhere that's remote, but you can near a area like City of Vancouver.
Let's go to Gabriella and then Justin and Ann.
Gabriela Ewing, thank you, Nick, for bringing this up. I'm actually part of the co-plan with the City of Vancouver. So yes, we're having this kind of conversations and we're moving into those 15-minute walk communities. So we do call it 15-minute communities for accessibility. And yes, with public transportation to minimize the use of cars for commuting and things like that. So that's already happening within the City of Vancouver. And I think I like the 15-minute communities in already the county. So obviously, like Nick says, no out in the booties, right? So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Justin?
Justin Wood. So just to provide a little context around the City of Vancouver and 15-minute neighborhoods. So the Planning Commission meeting from February 11th, 2025, Rebecca Kennedy expressly said, we do not use the term 15-minute neighborhoods anymore. I sent that to the project group. They chose not to send it out to the rest of the CAG. I do not know why, but the City of Vancouver does not use that term anymore. They do totally agree with what we have here in the language, connected and accessible neighborhoods, but that term 15-minute neighborhood is not used by the City of Vancouver anymore. Secondly, Monica, really appreciate the wording, and I do agree with significant majority in the spirit of consensus.
Okay, thank you, Justin. And well, and I'm just gonna ask, I don't know if it's worth getting into a debate over whether the City of Vancouver uses the term 15 minutes communities or not. I don't know if that's helpful for this group. So if the comments are up about that.
I just want to say that it doesn't matter about the wording. What it matters is about accessibility. I don't think we need to be finicky about those words, but it's about accessibility for the community.
Okay, that's
Thank you.
helpful. About accessibility, great. Anne and then Noel, I think. Go ahead, Anne.
Yeah, okay. So, and I didn't quite catch everything that you just said, Gabriela, that everybody said, yeah, I can do that. I can live with that. So I may be duplicating efforts here. But just for the sake of moving this along, what if we do both and put the 15-minute neighborhood or 15-minute community in quotes so that it implies that it's a nickname for a concept, but plan for, quote, 15-minute communities or neighborhoods, whatever, unquote, which connect and accessible, which include connected and accessible communities in the unincorporated Vancouver. So both, we're including both in the end result here. We're saying plan for, quote, 15-minute communities, unquote, which include connected and accessible communities. Maybe include is not the right word, which, help me out, Justin. So which which include that all these things that you've so artistically listed.
I like the wording as is. I am not supportive of anything that would say 15-minute neighborhood, right? We don't need to put a limit on it. We had a discussion
So
with the
that's
group at
where
our
I am
last
too.
meeting.
I was just trying to come up with some sort of compromise.
Okay.
It didn't work.
All right,
I was
I'm
going
gonna
to,
go.
I had written what you said.
And
Yes, they
accessible.
don't.
Let's go to Monica. We will call for the question just a second. Let's go to Monica.
Roll call for vote.
I know, we'll go in a minute. Monica, then Noel, and then Gabriella.
Monica, and you got me thinking, but I feel that with the significant majority that does incorporate just like having that significant majority be connected and accessible. And so within a convenient, safe walk, ride, roll. So convenience and so it's not, not convenient. But you did make me think with like adding that too. I'm like, so now I'm all in a tizzy. I don't, so thank you.
Noel and Gabriella, and these will be fast, and then we're going to go to a vote.
So, Noelle Lovern, the city of Vancouver was at our office today giving a presentation, and the slide says supports the creation of connected and accessible neighborhoods by allowing commercial and residential uses to mix. So they are not using 15-minute communities anymore. I think connected and accessible is the proper language, and I think we should go with that.
Okay, thank you. And Gabriella?
Yes, Gabriela Ewing, I just want to say, yes, when we started the comp plan with the city, it was addressed as a 15-minute communities. And because of the restriction of 15 minutes, that is move away. So that's why it's connected and accessible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to suggest in the language here on the screen, Nicole, can you change provide as the first word to plan for? Because it sounded like there were some head nods for that change. Since the county can't actually provide those communities, but they can plan for them. I'm going to suggest that we vote on this language here. So that being the only change, plan for. I'm going to start online this time. Just keep mixing it up. We're going to go first to Andrea, then Janet, and then Nelson. So Andrea.
Yes.
Okay. Janet.
Yes, I agree with Plan 4.
Thank you. And Nelson.
Yes, I like Plan 4 as well.
Now I'm going to go back to Nick.
Yes.
Okay. Brent, Monica, Noel, Gabriella, okay. Dave, Sunrise. Yes.
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 Done. Okay. Great. Thanks, everyone. Okay. We have one left. I think we can do it before a break. Yeah? Or do you need a break? Okay. We're going to goal 23, just the goal itself, not any policy under it. And this is page
26.
Page 26.
Okay, so while you're looking for goal 23 on page 26, we put this goal on the discuss list because there were a handful of comments about this one. And it seemed like generally people were supportive of the goal, but there were a few comments on just the wording and either maybe needing a definition for holistic or adjusting the wording in some way. So anyway, wanted to bring it back to the group for just checking if people are okay with the word. So we haven't edited it at all, but wanted to bring it back to the group if anyone wanted to suggest some sort of wording changes or anything like that, that would help them live with it.
I'm going to go to Brent first.
Brent Marsden. We've had already some discussion on the use of the term holistic, and I did quite a bit of research on it. And according to almost everything on the internet, holistic development refers to child development. And I don't think this has anything to do with that. Also, that term has been added to two other goals behind our back, so to speak. And there are also problems with that. Nobody really knows what holistic means. Everybody thinks it means something different. There's no set definition. I think it's jargon, and I don't think we should use that term.
Okay, thanks, Brent. Do you have a different word that would work for you? What do you think? What kind of development do you think is needed here?
Brent Marsden, well, my point was, what's the idea behind holistic development? What does it mean?
Okay. Yeah, so maybe if
I
we have a couple, are these from before or are these? Okay, let me go to, well, okay, what if you have a quick one-word suggestion?
How about comprehensive?
Comprehensive, okay. Comprehensive development. All right, then let's go to Monica and then Noel. Oops.
So Monica, revised what that I wrote was promote holistic planning within the unincorporated urban growth area while avoiding regions vulnerable to climate related hazards like flooding and wildfire. Advocate for holistic planning, one comprehensive approach. Holistic planning integrates social, economic, and environmental factors, ensuring sustainable progress for the entire community. 2, enhances community well-being. It fosters community by improving health, education, and infrastructure, leading to a better quality of life for residents. 3, increases resilience. This approach helps communities adapt to and mitigate climate-related hazards, ensuring long-term sustainability. Definition of holistic planning in this context. Holistic encompasses all aspects of planning, social, economic, environmental, and cultural, aiming for balanced outcomes that reduce vulnerability to climate risk. Consequences of removing holistic: 1, narrow focus, risk prioritizing economic growth over essential social and environmental needs. 2, lack of integration results in isolated efforts, missing collaboration opportunities. 3, increased vulnerability overlooks community resilience factors against climate hazards. 4, neglect of needs fails to address the diverse requirements of community members. 5, sustainability risk encourages short-term gains, jeopardizing long-term environmental health. I want to emphasize planning over growth or development. 1, it's a strategic resource use. So planning reflects a focus on sustainable practices like reusing and recycling, moving away from the endless expansion. And 2, proactive community shaping conveys responsibility in creating communities, emphasizing sustainability. So importance of planning over development. 1, sustainable stewardship focuses on long-term ecological health rather than immediate gains. 2, holistic integration considers
Monica?
all, yeah.
I'm just going to ask you quickly if you can summarize, and is this generally, are you in support of the holistic staying here as a
Yes,
word?
holistic, and then doing planning over growth or development.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Right.
and then I guess alternative word for support, encourage instead of encourage to promote would be another one.
Okay.
So those, yes, that would be it.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome.
And Noel?
I would like to agree with Brent first. I agree holistic is a misuse of language there. And I would like to suggest maybe replacing it with a comprehensive and resilient approach to development, because everything we're doing right now is supposed to be about resiliency. So maybe those words would work there.
Okay. And Gabriella?
Gabriela Ewing. No, it's on. It is on, it's just not working. It was too far, I'm sorry. I was thinking comprehensive development, or integral development, or inclusive. But probably comprehensive development will encompass what Monica was just sharing, to be more in that word, in that sentence.
Okay.
Thanks.
So thank you. So trying to I'm hearing a number of words come out to help make this word a little bit more understandable. So something like comprehensive sounds like a lot of folks are thinking comprehensive, but also resilient, integral, inclusive are some of the words that are coming out here. Sunrise?
So I'm trying to think of another word for holistic. You are right, Brent, when you just look up holistic as itself. But if you look up holistic development, and I'm sorry, building development instead of development, because development brings you into children and all of that. But if you look up holistic development and building, it's actually looking at, it's taking the word in the terms of something is holistic, and it's taking it in a different sense there. So you're incorporating the people, the environment, the community, all of these things. And that's the idea of holistic. That being said, I understand that this word could lead people to think it's something different than it is, and different than what Monica and I are interpreting it to be. So what did you say? You said the comprehensive to me doesn't fit climate change and it doesn't address that. Comprehensive can be anything. So I'm hesitant to put this one out there, but sustainable development, integrated development, regenerative development. I think there's other words we can use that comprehensive is just, to me, does not hit climate change. It's just comprehensive. It's everything. So I think we need to have something that fits that word if we're not using holistic, and that's fair to look at a different word. So I would suggest sustainable, regenerative, or integrated, something like that.
Brent?
Brent Marsden, yes, I agree with your point about comprehensive, but I do like resilient. I think resilient will work well with something else. So comprehensive and resilient was a possibility, but maybe there's a better word to go with resilient, because I think resilient is apropos here.
Thank you. I'll go to the folks online and then back to Gabriella, Andrea, and then Nelson.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we necessarily need the holistic or whatever. I am in favor of the resilient piece because I think that, areas like flooding, wildfire, those are already being taken care of by other areas of law and policy. So keeping it in the same vein of what we're trying to accomplish here, which is resiliency, I think probably fits a lot better.
Okay, thank you. And Nelson?
Thank you. I would say the same. I also support resilient for the same reasons that Andrea cited. So Andrea, thank you very much for what you said. Made it easy on me.
Thank you. And Gabriella?
Yes, I think resilient or sustainable. So probably resilient.
Okay, you're in favor of resilient. Monica?
I would agree to the words of regenerative or resilient or sustainable, or all three of them, or at least two of them, to make sure that the holistic is being. I just want to make sure that I think resilient is good, but also regenerative I want in there. And then I'd want to change development to planning.
That sounds like a big change. So I'm going to check that with Jenna because that changes the whole meaning of the goal, I believe, if we change development to planning.
Right. I think when I look at this goal, if we're talking about encouraging development, that is done through planning, because that's sort of how the county's planning work is what encourages or discourages different types of development. So I think while it doesn't say the word plan, I think encourage development that's basically what it means. That's how the county would do it. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Just to my thing that I wrote up, I said we must shift from the traditional growth development mindset to embrace a post-growth perspective that prioritizes a regenerative economy. This transformation challenges the colonial model of resource extraction for short-term profit and instead promotes stewardship of nature's gifts for community benefit. Our comprehensive plan update should reflect this paradigm shift, emphasizing sustainable well-being for our diverse community well into the future. We need to confront the implicit biases that come with ownership privilege and recognize that the current trajectory is unsustainable. It's time to face the inconvenient truths of our history and strategically plan for a healthier, more equitable future for all. So that's why I wanted to change the word.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think as you repeated that, Monica, I think one thing that's coming to mind for me is I think you're talking about like really big picture, right? You want like a more regenerative, sustainable community. When I look at this policy and or this goal and what it's doing, we're talking specifically about development because we're talking about buildings and roads and like where we plan for people to live and go to school. So I think in this case, right, the idea is that you don't encourage building more things in hazardous areas. right? Like we're trying to direct growth to places where it's further away from our high wildfire, hazard areas, things like that. So I think in this I hear what you're saying, but I think it's so, it's a big picture concept. But I think if we look at this goal in particular, we are actually talking about development, right? Because more people will live where we encourage development to happen. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but.
All right, I think we really need to move into a vote on this one if we want to get to the other 100 goals and policies on the list. I heard a lot of head nods around resilient. So maybe just as a test, if we change encourage to, holistic to resilient here, and then I'm going to see with others, is there something else you would need to see here? Sunrise?
I'm hesitant, but having resilient and regenerative is what Monica was saying, just having the two on there.
Is regenerative going to work for, anyone say no to that?
Brent Marsden, what is regenerative development?
So regenerative is that we continue to give to our Mother Earth the gifts that she has given us, that we not only just take from her, we give back to her. And so it's not just thinking about constant growth without understanding that we're living on a finite planet with limited resources. And so it's making sure that we can build, I guess, and still have those buildings for future generations and, not just take everything from her.
Okay. Yeah, Brent, and then I'll go to Dave.
Brent Marsden. So regenerative is the same difficulty as holistic. You know what it means. Does anybody else know exactly what it means? Ask all the people around if they know what it means.
That's why we are here to teach each other. And that's why we can put it in the glossary, which I believe there's a definition of words that we got put over here too. And so I know not everybody knows everything all at once. I know I don't. I know not everybody in this room knows everything all at once. And so that's why I'm trying to educate
Thank you,
people.
Monica.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. I'm going to go to Dave, and then there's a couple of hands online. So Dave, and then we'll go to Andrea and Nelson.
Yeah, this is Dave Rowe. This whole statement is trying to get development away from areas that are prone from climate-related hazards such as flooding and wildfire. It doesn't make any difference, comprehensive or holistic. We just have to encourage people and developers to stay away from climate-related hazards. That's the main point.
Okay, so the second phrase is kind of the key to you. Andrea?
Yeah, this is Andrea. So I kind of disagree with that assessment just because you're able to, in a lot of cases, you're able to develop in areas that are maybe risk prone, but at the same time, you're able to do, take steps that would remediate some of those risks or stop them from happening altogether. So I think keeping it resilient gives the option for more choices and flexibility as we go through climate change planning, not just today or in 10 years, but also in 50 years, when we're, running short on land and need more places to put things. And regenerative, I get why people want to include that, but it's not, as somebody else said it, it's not a very well-used term. It's not like something that if we use this in the development community that they would get right away. So I would just caution that. I think keeping it simpler as we develop these is going to be better in the long run. And so I would just urge only having the resilient piece.
Okay, thank you. And Nelson?
Thank you. I agree. I'm troubled by the term regenerative, to be honest. I not only do we, are we not familiar with it, I also am very concerned about what it would mean for the cost of housing, because when we add elements to building homes, it makes homes more expensive, not less expensive. And we're in an environment where we need more affordable housing, not less.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to ask that we vote on this at this point because we really are running out of time. And with the word resilient, so changing holistic to resilient and see where folks are on that. I'll start with Dawn.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. In the spirit of compromise, I'll say yes.
Thank you. Dave? Yes.
Yes. I'm a no, I want to add regenerative.
Okay.
Yes.
Brent? Okay. And online, Andrea,
Yes.
Janet,
I'm a yes.
and Nelson?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then we have, this will go forward as not a consensus recommendation, but your comments will go forward, Monica, on regenerative. So thank you for that. And it's important to bring those ideas forward.
What I've learned is if you truly feel something that's in your heart and your core, and if you're the only person like that feels that way, say it anyway.
Yeah, that's great.
Online, if I could have stayed with that, then I go.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Let's take a break and try to get back together at 7:40. Is that too short of a break? 6 minutes? Yeah, 7:40. Okay. All right. We're going to get back together now. I know that was a short break, but keep eating. We're going to move into our next piece. If you can go to the next slide. We're going to go into the quick check part of our discussion. Well, not really discussion, of our voting. Is there another slide here? Okay. So in your packets, and we sent this out in advance, so we hope that you all took the time to kind of look at the items and decide whether you could support them or not. But all of the items in your, big packet that's draft climate element policies 326 version, the main goals and policies. We are going to do a vote on all of the items that are blue and have a Q on them. So those are our quick check items. There are 100 of them. Again, most of these got very good support in the survey, or they've been modified with changes that we've checked with folks offline before this meeting that seemed okay, but they might not all be okay, and that's fine. So a no vote is appropriate if you don't feel like it's quite there. But we're going to vote on them as a block. So you can take a couple of minutes to look at it, but I'm going to go one by one and just ask you, do you support these 100? And if you do not, just list the ones that you do not support. And we'll note that down. So I'll give you all a couple of minutes to skim, and then we'll do the vote.
It's the same one.
The same document we've been looking at so far, the 326, yeah, it has the green, blue, pink, and orange coloring, yeah. The ones that are blue. Can you relink that in the chat, please, Maria? All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started on this because we hope that you read this beforehand. And again, I'm just going to ask you to say which ones you do not support and just list the number. You don't need to say why. We'll capture your comments from before, or you can send more comments by email after today.
Nicole wants to know if you want her to show her screen. This. Where she'll note. Yeah.
Oh, I do want you to be opinionated. We just don't have time to get into the discussion on each piece at this point. You could say like goal 23, policy 2. You could say. We'd prefer the goal and policy number. Let's say the goal and policy number. Okay. I'm gonna start with Dawn.
Yes on all.
Yes on all. Okay, thank you, Dawn. And again, the question is, do you support these to move forward as a recommendation from the CAG? Anne? And if you need a pass, I can come back to you if you're not quite done. Go ahead. Anne is a yes on all. Okay. Justin?
Yes on all.
Great. And Sunrise?
I'm going to pass for a second and then I'll be right back with me.
Okay, that's fine. Dave?
It's a temporary abstention.
Extension.
Dave?
Dave Rowe, yes on all.
Yes on all. Gabriella?
Yes on all.
Okay, Noel?
Yes on all.
Yes on all. Monica?
I vote yes on all, but I want it to be on the record with the current legal landscape. If the law changes surrounding Initiative 2066, I advocate for stronger policies transitioning away from natural gas.
Great. Thank you. No, thank you, Monica.
Brent Marsden, I vote no on goal 5 and goal 6.
Goal. On the goal language or also the policies beneath them?
Language.
The goal itself, but
Yeah.
the policies below them are okay?
Right.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Nick?
I'm standing by Brent Marsden and I'm voting no on G5 and G6 also, just for the language.
Okay. G6, thank you. We have some buddies here. Andrea online?
Yes on all, and also would like to be on the record. My dog says to keep our paws off of his natural gas.
That's good. Janet?
Janet commented in the chat that she's having issues with her mic, so she was going to reboot, but she says I'm a yes on all in the chat.
Thank you, Nelson.
Yep,
And Nelson, what's your vote?
I'm a yes on all.
Yes on all. Okay. And back to Sunrise.
So see if I word this right. I'm a yes on all except, is that how we're, okay.
Yes.
So I'm a yes on all except for G24, the main, just G24, the way that's worded. In addition to adding, I echo what Monica said, but I don't know how to say this. Basically, all the buildings and energy, I would want those to be reevaluated in light of if I-2066 is not repealed, what's happening, then I would want to have those all looked at.
Great.
And I plan on writing it in a succinct email to you guys so that it's written out specifically.
Perfect. And I should say that is the assumption, Jenna, that if anything changes with I-2066, those will be revisited. Maybe you can say that, Jenna. I'll just.
Yeah, we'll need to reevaluate, review the policies and talk to Commerce on what needs to change. So,
Okay.
yep, but we are waiting or trying to figure out, when the Supreme Court will rule on it to figure out our approach.
Of course. No, I know it can be a while and I know we're not discussing it, but I still want the comment made because that isn't being made by us. That's being made by staff.
Yeah,
Right.
that's great.
Okay.
So I think that comment can go forward. Do you vote yes on them as in the current legal landscape?
Yes.
Okay, that's helpful clarification. So the other no is G24. Okay.
Wait.
G24. And Noel, yeah?
I'd like to change my vote. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm going with the dudes over here. I think that word holistic is completely inappropriate.
And what I
So-
think is completely inappropriate is the rudeness that some members have did just a little bit ago. So, but thank you.
Yeah, so let's stay respectful. The word is important to some people and others don't understand, it's a hard to understand big concept. But it sounds like that is the word that's holding up the support for this one in G5
Yes.
and G6. Okay. And that's okay. Yeah.
We didn't say anything about region area. So we're not saying anything about that.
Okay.
I was just saying about the high fives and yeah, and we don't want that kind of like, and I just thought it was rude the way it was done.
Oh, I had no idea what the high fives were even about. I thought they were just, okay. Well, you could apologize to Monica.
Sorry, Monica, we weren't making fun of you by any means.
Okay. Well, thank you. Maybe let's take like a 2-minute break. You can stay at your seats.
I'm sorry.
Well, Gabriella's been, she's been slapping me all meeting.
Will solve myself. Sometimes camaraderie feels a little mean, but the apology was taken and
My last shot is going to be a hell of an email to Jenna.
Okay.
I'm going to shoot both barrels.
Oh my gosh, no video.
Language is important.
Absolutely
It's
it is.
important to me. You know what pissed me off?
What?
They didn't cancel the last meeting. They postponed it.
Right.
Keep on talking about cancel.
I did.
No wonder these things are messed up. They don't even know the difference between those words. Precision in language matters,
Absolutely.
particularly if you're doing something legal.
Yes, indeed. It does. No, that's why.
I absolutely don't object to those things. It's the use of the term on the context. And you know exactly what it means in different contexts, because that's the way you're thinking.
All right, so circling back, I'll give you all a minute.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's how we educate people, just like another.
All right, so we're gonna come back together now. So I think where we landed is consensus on 97 out of the 100 that you just voted on, which is a huge achievement. So congrats. We should. High fives all around. So the 3 that didn't get consensus support were goal 5, goal 6, and goal 24. And again, you can send in your comments or why you don't support those to Jenna. I'll hand it over to you to explain more about that.
Yeah, I am requesting if you'd like to expand beyond what you said today or was in your survey feedback, if you can send me an email in the next week. So by, I'm just going to give you a date before I look at my calendar. So by April 14th, if you can just send me an email with a brief explanation, we'll use that to capture your rationale for how you voted, and that will get passed along in our package that goes to the Planning Commission.
Okay, perfect. And
I'm not me supplying an email. I'm just going on record what I said right now.
That's helpful. Thank you. And actually, I'm going to go back and do the big recap over what did you come to consensus on with all the goals and policies. So we have 160 goals and policies. You came to consensus on 156 of them. Only 4 do not have full consensus support. And so just the various opinions will move forward with that. I mean, that is really monumental. Great job, everyone. And great job to you all in this corner here. Just go get a cupcake. Yeah. All right. Well, good job, everyone. We're gonna move, we do have one other kind of real item to get to, which is the letter. And I'll hand it over to Jen on that. So we're just gonna look at the letter that's going from the CAG to the County Council and Planning Commission, right? So Jen will share an update on kind of where we are with that. And we just want to make sure that you kind of approve of sending this letter forward.
No.
That's on purpose. All right, Jenna.
Okay, so in your meeting materials was a draft letter that was written by a subcommittee of Jessica, Monica, Anne, and Don. And so they put this together for the group's consideration. We need you all to vote on it today. So as a group, you're deciding if you're okay with it going forward to the Planning Commission and Council. It would become a supporting material in the meeting materials that we share with them as they consider the climate policies. And let's see, and we did print it. If you didn't get a chance to read it, you're welcome to skim it now. So from staff's perspective, we're just looking on a confirmation from the group if you're okay with us moving it forward. And yeah, I think I'll just stop there and see if anyone has anything to add. So I think we will share it twice. So we'll share it in the next couple of weeks. So if you have any minor edits, we'll make them. And then if you approve it, we'll share it with the council and planning commission now and just say, hey, the CAG just finished, here's a letter, but then we will also include it as a supporting material when we actually are bringing the policies to them. We'll send it the first time, yeah, in the next couple of weeks. Yep.
Yeah, Brent.
Brent Marsden, I just want to go on record. I read this letter when it first came out in the email, and I really liked it. I think it's a great letter, and I just want to say that I support it 100%.
Thanks, Brent. And Noelle?
I just have a question to everybody. The first statement says, we strongly urge you. Can everybody support that? Because there were a few people that weren't quite sure about certain policies. So it would be really nice if we're putting our names to this, that we all wholeheartedly believe that.
Okay, thanks, Noelle. A few cards went up for that. So I'll go to Sunrise, then Monica. I couldn't tell. Monica first. Okay.
Thank you. Brent, were you still up?
No.
Oh, okay. For this, what I thought about that was the ones that we came consensus to. And so that's what I think it's saying for that. But is there a clarification on that?
I think that's true. I mean, it says, we strongly urge you to adopt the recommendations of the CAG. That would mean those 156 that you came to consensus to.
Yeah. Yeah. Does that make it better? Okay, cool. Thank you.
I guess I was just thinking, if we send this forward and then we have multiple CAG members get up and debate or have comment that is like, we don't support this, then it's kind of confusing for council. So that was my whole point.
Yeah. So you're almost saying this kind of keeps folks accountable to continuing to support the recommendations after the CAG. Yeah.
That's how I see it.
I see. That's helpful. Sunrise?
I had put my card down until that. So I was fine with it, but now I'm not. Is it the way that Noelle said? Is that how you guys, or who wrote it? Is that how you interpreted it?
That's how I thought of it. But if we wanted to add that language of, the policies that we came into consensus with, so then that way it's not like the whole, like all of the policies that we did, because we didn't come into consensus with all of them. So I would be okay with adding that language with the policies we came into consensus with. We strongly urge you to adopt those, but that there will be, I'm sure there will be in those spaces of the planning commission and county council to say, wait, I didn't agree with it. And, the record shows that. And so that makes sense to what you're saying, so then they're like, well, I thought you all agreed, and so, yeah, that makes sense to add that. If that's okay with everyone.
So add something in about, strongly urge you to adopt the consensus recommendations, or as opposed to the whole suite of things that you talked about. I'm seeing head nods there.
So this is Sunrise on Mahoney. Yeah, I had agreed until no one else said that. And that's because you made a comment about after this is all done, it sounded like you wanted us to, as part of the CAG, or you were understanding this to mean, that as the CAG, we are not supposed to be going to the planning commission or the county council and saying what we feel if we disagree with this. There was a lot of consensus made, but that doesn't mean that I agreed with it. And so, and I don't think that this has any way, shape, or form can tell me I can't talk later.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it will be confusing if we're pushing forward a letter that says we strongly recommend that you adopt these things. And then 5, 6, 7, or 8 of us are pushing forward other opinions to council that say, no, you shouldn't adopt this. So I think we have to be careful how this letter is drafted.
Yeah, I
That's-
don't disagree with what you're,
I would love it for everybody to say, I strongly agree with all of this, but I don't think that's where we're at.
maybe it's just, we urge you to adopt the recommendations of the client. If we just say the recommendations.
And we don't need to go into the wordsmithing over it,
no.
but if we decide like the strongly is too much and something about put in consensus, if we agree to that as a group, we can, Jenna can work on that language. We're not wordsmithing today.
Just to clarify, I would just say that if we put into play, really truly consider what is top priority when you're going before council on what it is that, if you're like, well, I really didn't agree with anything, then that's kind of a problem. So, yeah, I guess just be careful how that goes for everybody, not just everybody thinking about that. We're trying to help them. That was our job, right? To come to consensus and push forward some stuff. So yeah, certainly for me, I might say, hey, I think we did a great job. And I really do. I think we all did a great job. And I agree with, the body of work we're pushing forward. Maybe I have a couple ideas on language, how it could be slightly different on a couple areas, but in general, I'm supportive of it. So anyways.
Yeah, that's helpful. Nick, and then Gabriella and Monica.
I got my serious hat on now. We've met over the past year. We've learned each other's strengths, our weaknesses. We meet in the hall. We ask about our families. This is a great accomplishment as far as I'm concerned. This is, I'm in the Identity Clark County Civic Engagement Opportunity. This is the model of what government should be, where different people can reach across the aisles and agree on some things. No, we didn't come to 100% consensus. Well, this is not a wonder world that we're going to do that. Everybody has their opinions, and you need to keep them because they're your opinions. But at the same time, we've moved out of this. We have to pat ourselves on the back because we made a whole bunch of hard decisions and they went that way. I am not holding you, Sunrise, to say you can't go to a meeting and express your, and the same thing with Monica and Dawn and Ann. Everybody has the right to do that. Just remember that we agreed on consensus on this, and myself included, that we agreed on consensus of this stuff. There's some things we don't agree in there, but I think we need to preface that. Yeah, if we're going to say something, we met as a group and we agreed with these. However, I have concerns about a couple of those issues. It's not the whole thing we're throwing out. Yeah, I want to thank all of you for the help and support you've given me over the past year. It's been a great privileged to work with all of you. I've been in a whole bunch of other stuff with Robert's Rules of Orders and everything else, but this is the way to do it as far as I'm concerned. So thank you all.
Thank you, Nick. Gabriela?
Thank you, Gabriela Ewing. Thank you, Nick. I wanted to also voice the same sentiment. First of all, thank you to all of you for being fun. And I learned a lot from all of you, even if I was online, but I was listening. And, but yes, I agree that we are all coming to a consensus. And I don't think it was for us not to be able to voice anything. So anyways, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Gabriela. Monica, and then Nelson online.
Thank you so much, Nick, for putting on your serious hat. I echo that we did, all of us, people behind the scenes here, we did a lot of work. And so we should all be proud of ourselves and proud of each other. And I'm trying not to cry right now, but to go to the letter, I feel that having the language of we strongly urge you, because we did so much good work. But having that sentence of on the policies that we came into consensus with, so that they just know that's what we're strongly urging them to, because, you know, we had people that didn't come into consensus with some things, and that's okay. That's okay. I was one of them too. So, you know, having those be something that we can still talk about I think that would help in the letter. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Monica. And let's go to Nelson. And Andrea, your hand was up. So if you have something that you still want to say after Nelson, go ahead.
Thanks, Sylvia. I wanted to, as far as the letter goes, I wanted to echo what Monica just said. I think there is an importance to us saying that we strongly urge, particularly if we add in on the part of the sentence that, you know, to say on those items that we came to consensus on, because as you said, it's pretty remarkable that we reached the high level of consensus that we did. And then to the point that Nick made, I just wanted to back that up, because I also feel the way that Nick does, that this has been a remarkable experience to come together as a group of people with some pretty strong differing opinions and differing places that we come from, right? And yet still come to the point that we made new friends, that we you know, can talk to each other very civilly and you know, enjoy each other's company, and like Nick said, to check in with each other when we're in the hallway and just be good human beings with each other. I love that. So thanks so much to everyone. I'm very proud of this process.
Thanks, Nelson. There were some high fives in the room. Well,
right on.
And Brent?
Brent Marsden. I don't see any need to change any of the wording in the letter at all. And I'm one of the people that voted no on something, because it doesn't say that we unanimously agreed on everything. It says that we reached these recommendations through a consensus-based process. And that's exactly what we did. And I don't think it's necessary to start to go into details about, you know, most were unanimous and some weren't. I think the letter can stand as it's written.
Okay, that's helpful, Brent. I hear you. And I also heard concern from a number of people that they want to make it clear in that first sentence that it's about the consensus recommendations. So should we put do you want to put something else in there to make it clear? Or maybe if you look at the second sentence, does that enough to make it clear that what you're strongly urging is the consensus recommendations? Yeah, Anne. Oh, okay. So I think that's the question. Do folks feel like it needs to be a little bit more stronger in here, that we strongly urge you to adopt, you know, the consensus recommendations or the goals and policies that we came to consensus on, something like that? Would that be more appealing, folks?
I'm going to agree with Brent. I had reservations on 2 of them, but again, I going with the group for the consensus based, and we come with agreement that we're going to do them. So I'm fine with the letter as well as it sits.
Okay. Yeah, Sunrise. I'm sorry, my computer's dying. I'm going to plug it in. Go ahead, Sunrise.
Oh boy, what do I think? Because I had originally interpreted it differently, and I do think that the second sentence does say they were carefully developed through consensus base. So I kind of feel like that does say that. As somebody who did have some no's and on record of no's, I looked at this more to say the recommendations, and then it was still taken into place individual recommendations. So it's like, here's the whole consensus, and here's some pieces that there's what, 3 of them, you know, and then the overarching that Monica and I had. And I guess I read this to mean that, you know, here's our consensus-based process, here's what we did, and we're adding a few additions to here that were not in consensus. But so I guess I was originally fine with the way this was worded until until it got brought up differently. So I had interpreted it differently. So honestly, I'm okay with either leaving it out, like Brent said, or adding on those items that we came to consensus. To me, it doesn't matter.
Okay. And Anne, and then Dawn.
All of you have been so eloquent in your feelings about this group, and I just want to echo them. From my perspective as an elder in the group, I probably won't be around to see some of the changes that we're asking for in the future. But I think where the pride comes from is the fact that if we can get this county to implement and actually do 10% of what we're recommending, that's a major win. I mean, and think about the significance of what's in these pieces of paper and the recommendations that we're making and the good of our future generations and saving where we live and saving this world. I mean, it's really phenomenal what we're asking for. So if we can just prod these folks to give us just a few of regenerative agriculture or reduce gas house emissions by 2040, or just something to make us move forward on this, I think it will, that will be a reward that will stick with each of us.
Thank you.
Going forward.
Thank you. And Dawn?
I'm more like hoping for 99%. What about sticking in the word, in front of the word recommendation, say the consensus recommendations, like you were saying? That just, I'm not going to require it, but that's what I thought would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dawn. Does that work? Like letter moves forward, maybe adding that word consensus recommendations. Okay, I'm seeing head nods, except Brent.
Don, I just want to reply to that it's redundant because later on in the sentence, you already have consensus. So you're mentioning consensus twice.
So okay with that.
It's okay.
How about the letter just moves forward with no changes? All right, everyone's good with that. No changes, letters moving forward. I'll check online. Andrea? Are you good with the letter?
Yeah, I don't have strong opinions either way. Thank you.
Thank you. And Janet?
Agreed, no changes.
And Nelson?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. All right, and thanks everyone for your words. That means a lot. This has been a great process. We're gonna leave time at the end for kind of closing thoughts too. So if anyone else has others, if we have time. Okay, we're gonna move into just next steps, Jenna. Or kind of a little bit of a longer next steps, you know, what's happening after today.
Right. So I want to take, well, you all have already started this. I was going to look back very briefly, but then look forward at what comes next. So I'm going to go through these slides very quickly and just show you the project timeline again, and just highlight how much you all have done and like how much work this group has done over the past, it's been a little over a year since we started meeting with you all, you know, from creating the vision statement to brainstorming ideas to debating with each other, right? A lot has happened. And so we can go to the next slide. That's the rest of the process because it doesn't even fit on one slide. And you all, this group really put together a nice draft list of policies that we were able to then vet with a lot of other people. The Environmental Justice Coalition, then ran them all through an equity lens. Our technical partners reviewed them. We got a lot of feedback that we then wove back in, brought back to you, and you all have spent the last few months getting to the point we are today. So just want to acknowledge how much has happened. And after this meeting today, you all are done as the CAG, right? So as an advisory body, you have completed your charge of making recommendations for climate policies. And so if you wish to continue participating in the project as it moves forward, you'll be participating as an individual, right? Like not as a group. It also means you can talk to each other outside of this group because you're no longer, a body that has to follow quorum laws, right? You'd be talking to each other as individuals, and former members of the CAG, not as active members of the CAG. So I'm going to go a little bit more into the adoption process in a moment, but if we can go to the next slide really quick. I also thought we could look back visually too, just so a few other reminders. We showed you all a lot of data. You looked at climate projections. We asked you to look at the results of our greenhouse gas inventory. And then we asked you to engage with this information in a lot of ways, from brainstorming on sticky notes to talking to each other, whether it was in person or online, to we asked you all to do a lot of surveys. That was not our initial plan going into this project, but there was just so much information and the speed with which we had to move, we couldn't fit it all into the meetings. And so we really appreciate the amount of time you all spent outside of the meetings, filling out surveys so that we could collect your feedback so that we could, take it and compile it to go on to the next step. So just appreciate you all providing feedback in these various ways over the past year. Okay, so with that, let's go to the next slide. So this is the overarching decision-making process for this project. And we are at that starred item right now where you all have just finalized your recommendations. And after today, you'll be done as a group. So what comes next? So your recommendations, so staff, we now need to finish our work. So we have to actually package these policies into a draft climate chapter in the comprehensive plan. We need to finish going through the county's internal review processes. Our legal team will do a final review. Our communications office will do final editing, help us with any more grammar issues that we have, things like that. And then that chapter will move forward through the comprehensive planning process with the rest of the comprehensive plan. So what does that mean? It means we will bring your recommendation to the Planning Commission. And then eventually, and I'll go into the details on this in a moment, the Planning Commission will make a recommendation that goes to the County Council. And ultimately, the County Council will vote on the climate element as part of the whole comprehensive plan. And they are the decision makers in this case, is our County Council. Okay, so let's dive in a little bit deeper. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so just to reiterate, you all are done as the CAG after today. So if you want to participate moving forward, this is completely optional, right? Like if you want to do this. So the first thing I want to highlight is if you want to stay informed on sort of next steps, when we're talking to the Planning Commission, when there'll be opportunities to testify, things like that, you want to make sure you are on our project listserv. You all should be, because I put you on it once you were part of the CAG, so you should be receiving So, okay, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought now. Oh, yeah, project notification. So you all should be seeing, like, we forward news releases, that says the next climate project meeting is blah, blah, blah. If you've been seeing them, you're on our list. If for some reason you're not getting communications, you can sign up through the county's website. You can go to our project webpage and there's a button to sign up for notifications. But that's the best way to find out about the specific dates for, a meeting that's coming up or an opportunity to testify. Okay, because our dates can change. It's very hard for us to pin down the exact date when we're really far out from a certain point in the process. But generally, we are going to start briefing the Planning Commission and the County Council this spring. So in the next few weeks, we'll start meeting with them to tell them how what you all are recommending. Some folks have been listening in too, who are part of these groups. We're going to start briefing them this spring, and we'll probably have a couple touch points. And then a really key point in time is there's going to be a joint hearing with the Planning Commission and County Council, which is the time to formally testify to those bodies before they vote on this. Okay, and you can testify either in writing, you can submit written comments, or you can go to the hearing and provide verbal testimony. Right now, that's scheduled to happen in November of this year. So that's really far out. But that's when that hearing is currently scheduled to happen. After that hearing, when anyone who wants to testify will have an opportunity to do that, the Planning Commission will deliberate amongst themselves and they will make a recommendation. They're either going to approve, not approve, or modify what is in front of them. And that's the recommendation that goes to County Council. And then the County Council will vote. And again, they're either going to approve, not approve, or modify the proposal in front of them. They are scheduled, so the Planning Commission's voting is also scheduled for later in November, with the County Council voting in December of this year. So that's the very rough timeline. I'm going to make a few more comments and then can answer some questions. Just want to skim my notes and make sure I've said what I need to. Okay, the one other thing I want to say about providing testimony, we staff, if you have questions on like, what was the date again, or how does this work? Feel free to reach out to us. We can point to you on how the process works. We cannot talk to you about what to say, what not to say, right? Like we can't coach you on your advocacy. That is totally up to you all as individuals. But I can generally give our general advice on providing comment or testimony to the Planning Commission or Council. And that is, if you're giving verbal testimony, always start by saying and spelling your name. Be very brief and to the point. There's going to be a lot of people testifying at this hearing about a lot of different things. Let the Planning Commission and County Council know how you want them to vote. They hold a hearing before they're about to vote on something. So tell them what you want them to do. And then finally, we like to recommend that you don't repeat what others say, right? So you can say, oh, I agree with so-and-so, but add to it. We don't recommend that you repeat the exact same thing that someone has said before you. So those are our very general pointers. And because we're running out of time, I don't think I'll say more on that, but glad to answer questions.
Yeah, let's do some quick questions. We do still, and actually, maybe I'll just check if you are an attendee and plan to make public comment, can you raise your hand just so we get a sense of that? And we'll get some questions here. Anne and then Monica.
Yeah, quick question, Jenna. So to clarify, so if the Planning Commission votes to modify something, is that the version that goes to the council? Or does the council see the original version? I mean, theoretically, the Planning Commission could modify everything that they just disagree with everything. And that's what goes to the council. The council never has the opportunity to see the final.
So I'm going to look at Oliver and Chris, but yeah. Generally the Planning Commission's recommendation is what gets presented to council to consider. but they also get all of the documentation behind that. So all of your work is a part of those meeting materials. So it is in there. But Oliver, if there's anything you'd like to add, please go ahead.
No, this is Oliver Ojako, Community Planning Director. Jenna is correct. All the materials, both your original, all the documents, supporting materials will be in front of the Planning Commission. Any modification made to that will be presented to the council. However, the council will also see all the supporting document and the original and what changes was made to see whether they agree with it or not. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. And Monica?
So first, I just want to say that I was taking a picture of this screen and that's why my phone went off. I don't know why I did it. So I didn't want to be like I was being disrespectful. With the all supporting documents, I know that we get a lot of paperwork here. And so I want to make sure that when it does go to the county council, that they're not just getting a bunch of paperwork. I want to make sure that they're like, this is what we agreed upon. This is our words. This is, a very and then the ones that, a couple of us, didn't agree on. So it's just very, because, they get a bunch of paperwork. And so I want to make sure that we're just not overloading them with all the things and just have it to be like, this is what the CAG wanted and this is what the Planning Commission suggested. So I'm hoping that can be done. Yeah.
So I will say, staff, we will do our best to be very organized and sort of chunk out, it's very clear what you all as the CAG recommend. It's very clear what the EJC did, right? Like we'll make it as clear as we can. But we are talking about thousands of I don't want to, this is a huge project. We've created a huge volume of work, just the number of comments we've collected, right? So it is also a lot, and that's part of the Planning Commission and County Council's job, right? Is to review and consider it, right? So it's sort of a both and, right? We will do our best to organize it, but it is a lot of information, and we do chunk it out with like the staff reports and recommendations at the top with other stuff further down, but it is a lot.
All right, thank you. Okay, Brent, real fast, and then we have to move to public comment.
Quick question for clarification. So they're voting on our goals and policies specifically?
They will be voting on the entire comprehensive plan, which will include a new climate element, which will include the policies, the goals and policies so yes, among other things.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's do public comment, and then we can, if folks are willing to stay just a few minutes later, may I have just a few closing thoughts. So I just see one hand up from Jude. If you could put the instructions up. Jude, we'll give you 2 minutes for public comment. Thank you for being here. So I'll hand it over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Sometimes it doesn't work. Thank you all for your great work. I would like to first make a couple of comments on goals 5 and 6 to say that sustainable development and sustainable agriculture are scientifically demonstrated over a decade or more terms. There may not be perfect agreement on them, but they are definitely terms that you can look up and study and define in your glossary, which is missing the word sustainable and resilient and consensus. You might want to add those. And particularly, I wanted to comment on, and I'm Jude Waite, and I'm with the Farm and Food Justice Network, and we were served on the Environmental Justice Coalition. So none of this is really unfamiliar. How it appears that I have missed on goal 16, policy 3, water use. So one of the big water use applications is irrigation. And agriculture is not all subsumed under the word commerce, because a lot of gardening and food growing, for example, receive a lot of irrigation. Your lawns receive irrigation. So I really appreciate that you might consider including those two things specifically. And I would also like to comment as a watershed scientist that we are not doing all we can around encouraging permeability. So impervious surfaces. And I think that we might want to like general hydrology lesson for everyone that would be exemplified by a presentation that one of Friends of Clark County board members gave at the water forum that was held recently. I also wanted to comment on goal 19, policy 4, and you changed it to plan for rather than provide for. And I like provide because there are a lot of places that we could sort of retrofit or redesign or take down the barriers to accessibility that are already in the urban growth area, development areas where we can't walk across the street because there's barriers. We have to drive around or walk around, and some of us can't. So I think there's the goal is for future development, but I think there's a lot of things we could provide for and plan for to provide for in the nearer future than just future development. And I think that's really all I have to say.
Great. Thank you so much, Jude. Appreciate it. Okay, well, yes, we will. Let's go to the next slide. We're going to move into just kind of some wrap up and next steps and some comments from the team. There might be another slide on this, but I'll hand it over to Jenna and on next steps and to introduce folks that are wanting to make closing thoughts.
All right, so just to recap, for those of you who voted no on something and would like to provide an explanation, please send me an email by April 14th on that if you'd like to add to that. And then otherwise, we are going to get to work. We'll finalize the letter. We'll share it with the Council and Planning Commission. We will let you all know. We'll have the final copy of the letter, meeting notes from today's meeting. We will also have a final version of the outcome of your voting today. We'll post that all on your webpage. So we'll send you an email to let you know when that's all up. And then otherwise, yeah, we're going to get to work and finishing the climate chapter and getting it ready to go to the Planning Commission and Council. So that's what's coming up. And then, yeah, I think we're ready to just move into any sort of parting thoughts.
Yeah, any parting thoughts? And maybe Oliver, if you wanted to provide any final thoughts.
Again, this is Oliver Ojiakot. Want to take this just a few minutes to say thank you for the tremendous work you have done, volunteering your evenings to be here. We have become friends, and we greatly appreciate that. I cannot thank you enough, but this is what we do encourage when we put a committee together. That is really to work together. And I often say to my staff, don't do advocacy planning, let the committee do their work. And I will say that this process has resulted in that. I want to sincerely thank Jenna and all the staff that have worked with her and our consultants. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to work with you. I sincerely mean that. Thank you. I hope we can bring you together to work on something else. So thank you. This is a great process. We greatly appreciate it. And we mean it. Even I was speaking with our legal counsel. They said, yes, this is how we would like future committees to work. And greatly thank you. And also our consultant, thank you. And moderators, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. It's been so great to be part of this group. You really have been a tremendous group. And like, you've taken all the elephants and put them straight in the middle of the room so we could talk about them deeply. And it's been amazing. So thank you for being so passionate. And there have been bumps for sure, but you have really delved into all the topics. And a lot of you were able to kind of express things earlier too, but please, the floor is open if anyone wants to add anything else or share.
I just wanted to make a comment about Jude, what she just said about the plan and provide. I actually liked that. But I'm not changing my response right now. I'm just saying that, I mean, like I always say, like nobody knows everything all at once. And so I wanted to thank Jude for bringing that up. It's just something that I can advocate for, to have plan and provide. But yeah, other than that.
Yeah, Dave.
Yeah, I work at Lima Shore Trolley down in Lake Oswego, and we have a 36 passenger trolley. And I'm inviting anybody that wants to come out, come talk to me, and I'll give you the information about the trolley down in Lake Oswego. I've been working on it for 5 years to make it battery powered, and I'm starting on the second one. Yes, we do need more. We need trains in Clark County. We got 3 railroad tracks. We could put a passenger trains on it, and we'll serve the whole community, all the county.
And Don?
This is Don Stanky. I attended a planning commission meeting about 2 months ago, and they were very concerned about all the information coming to them at the last minute. And so I agree with what Monica said about not doing that. But they also said they're not going to have any hearings for a long time. And so will they be having any hearings for public input on this before before October?
The only hearing will be will be on the comprehensive plan as a whole. So no hearings, but they will have work sessions to brief them, to review your all's recommendation, which is what they're considering. And then the hearing is the opportunity for public comment before they vote on it. So that's right. There won't be any additional hearings prior to the fall.
Thank you.
Though I think Chris Cook, our legal counsel.
There is always the opportunity to submit comment online or otherwise. It will be posted as part of the public input on any part of the comprehensive plan that you're interested in. And I really encourage the submittal of written comment because it tends to be a little more permanent, and often the writer is a little more thoughtful than. And furthermore, oral comment is limited. Right now, it's limited to 3 minutes. If 150 people show up at a hearing and want to comment, it might get limited to less than that. Whereas you can write as much as you want. Yeah. But we always have page limits, but anyhow.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else?
I just want to thank everyone and just say when we do a process like this, we have no idea how it's going to go, right? We didn't know if you all would, like how well you would work together, right? If you listen to each other. We see a lot of you butting heads on a regular basis in front of the Planning Commission and Council. So it's been, yeah, we've learned a lot from all of you and really appreciate being a part of the journey with you over the past year. So thank you all.
All right, thank you.